Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's ETN.
Here we go.
Technology Network. We are back.
We're back in the
Thursday,
studio.
11th of
Life's
June,
good.
11:05, slightly delayed today. But there will be a reason for this. There'll be a reason for this, whichever.
We need to cut that
very
tune
soon.
like just like 2 seconds off because I feel like we kind of wait there. There's a bit of an awkward like. Okay, now we're live. Hey,
for when the tune begins.
Yeah.
We can get the
Anyway,
sound engineers on that.
ElevenLabs, leave outdated business banking behind with ElevenLabs, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business. Multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all on one platform. Go to ElevenLabs.com. Guys, we have a banger today. Let's go through the order of play. Do you want to
let me
jump
run
in?
through
This is
who
your
we've got
job.
joining us today. First on the docket today, we've got Alex Holt, Field CTO at ElevenLabs, newly appointed. We're going to be digging into him. What is a Field CTO? What does it mean to be a Field CTO at ElevenLabs? What does this forward deployed model look like? What does it look like to be a CTO who is operating in the field? We've got Daniel Keinrath coming on after that. They've got some news to announce. They have already announced it, but they raised from 20 VC. We're going to be digging into the product, digging into the raise. How did that come about? It's going to be super fun. Kostas Chalkias, the co-founder and chief cryptographer at MystenLabs. He had also done some previous work at Meta as well, so we're going to be digging into the world of crypto. What does it mean to be a chief cryptographer in 2026? Aurelien Nolf will follow him, chief financial officer at Navan. They've posted some really strong numbers recently. We're going to be digging into the world of corporate travel. We're going to be digging into the world of corporate travel and AI. We're going to be digging into what a publicly listed company who is combining those two. What are they doing? What's top of mind for them? What's the focus? Following that, we've got returning guest of the show, Kanishka, Narayan, the Minister for AI and Online Safety. Kanishka is one of the politicians that is leaning into not only technology and how we can use it to drive the nation forward, but also the socially native way of communicating messages, which is how it should be nowadays. He does a great job at living on X. He does a great job of covering everything on X. He does some great hype reels.
He was on the ground at London Tech Week. He was on the floor. He was like kind of a reporter vibe, like just in, this has happened.
Yeah.
So, guys really doing some dirty work, which is good.
He was getting super stuck in, which is great. After that, we've got Shah Ramezani, CEO and founder at Noah. Going to be digging into a similar sort of topic around stablecoins, as previously mentioned. Kenneth Schlenker, founder and CEO of Opal, so the app that controls your screen time. One of the most successful consumer products that's been launched over the last few years, specifically housed on iPhone and Android. Bunch of really interesting stuff to dig in with him. What his position on the negative impacts of a high screen time. Is a high screen time now kind of necessary because everyone lives on their phone? A bunch of stuff to get into with him. Matt Johnson, principal technologist over at MongoDB. Again, we're going to let him open the floor. What does a principal technologist mean? What does it mean to be one at an enterprise company? Alex Petropoulos, director of strategy at ARC Foundation. I hope I'm not butchering
all these names
those.
are really you're having a hard time.
Yeah, a real tough time. But where were we last week? We had an absolute blast. We were at Cherry Ventures Summit. That was not only a great day because we got to meet like loads of amazing people and be out there in the world, which we love to do, but also we interviewed some amazing people. We interviewed my two friends who've launched Zaro. They raised 5.1 million from Cherry Ventures, so it was great to catch up with them. They were my mentors when I was at Convergent, so a cool full circle moment. But also the co-founder of ARM, which would definitely be an experience that I will remember for a while. This guy, he was like probably one of the most the smartest person I think I've ever talked to. He has a PhD in physics from Cambridge, I believe, but then also one of the most charismatic people ever as well. Like he was cracking jokes. He really felt comfortable. So funny.
Like he made me feel very comfortable in the conversation. And I'm not saying like most people, I feel uncomfortable in conversations, but I think like, we just had a really nice chat.
He had steez as well.
Nice.
He was dressed
and then he called himself.
fresh.
Yeah, he's dressed very, a lot better than we were. which
he mocked us. He mocked us live on air.
he did. Maybe we should be, wearing those
Cravat
kind of
maxing.
Yeah, cravat.
I couldn't believe it when he rocked, because I think he has that.
I think that's just his style. Because
He has that outfit on rotation.
All of the Google images are him with a cravat as well.
Yeah. So cravats are his thing.
Keeping the neck nice and warm while he's just spitting facts and having good chats.
Yeah. So that was a real honor to sit down with him. It told us some hilarious stories, and one of the clips has already gone out actually. Some amazing stories about the early days of ARM and their sort of physics-defying moment in which they realized they'd kind of invented a really novel new way basically to build out chips. But he was just
the story when he was so they were testing the power consumption of one of the chips, and to do that you have to basically pull one of the iron, or I think it's iron, or one of the rods essentially up, and then you connect. You hit one of the rods, and you basically test how much electricity is going through each one. But when they bent this thing up, they realized that it actually wasn't connected anyway, but the chip was still running. And so they were like, we've just basically done something that no one else has ever done before. And how have we done that? They figured out how, and their chips are now used in I think he said we have 100% of the smartphone chip design market. They own the whole thing. So
90 plus.
So, all of the chip makers for phones generally are designing their chips using ARM. That is 100% of the market. And then they were talking about how, they accidentally, or not accidentally, but they were kind of forced to create their own chip, and are now taking a lot of market share from Intel and doing very, very well. So he was fascinating. He was really
that is proprietary news. We had an inside look into a story from 1990 from the founder himself of ARM. So
there you go.
Very, very lucky.
Talk about being quick to the news.
Awesome.
That's we're 26 years. That's pretty quick.
No, 36.
36 years. Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
36 years. Breaking. 36 years ago this happened.
Anyway, let's jump into some news. Anthropic has released their Fable model. Mixed reviews. The timeline was kind of. It was actually a very good day. Just quickly so the Social Reckoning also came out yesterday, or the trailer did, and a little bit almost quite doomer on it's not the best for AI and technology in terms of the narrative perspective, but it was just flooded, not with that kind of news, which I think which means Zuckerberg was probably quite happy that was released at the same time as this Fable this Fable model was released, because it kind of just, drowned that out, and Fable was just flooded the timeline. So, and it's kind of mixed reviews. People were saying, why are they kind of, there's backlash over restrictions of the model. They're kind of, if you're going down the biology route and kind of cybersecurity route, they kind of nerf and go to a lower performing kind of model, pushing you to Opus 4.8 and kind of lower. Which people are saying, why? Yes, safety is a huge concern. But it's also let's use this whole model. But anyway, let's jump into it. There was a Wall Street Journal article that came out. We have it up. So the title is Anthropic's new Fable model, AI model, is met with user backlash over restrictions. Guardrails make the powerful model less useful for AI researchers, though the company said it would grant safeguarded free access to the science community. Let's dive in. Anthropic is finally giving the public a taste of its new generation model, but its blunt safety barriers are angering some artificial intelligence developers and users, and feeding a growing debate over who should be the keeper of dangerous AI capabilities. Dubbed Claude Fable 5, the model that Anthropic released Tuesday is an update to the Myth model that the company said was too dangerous to release widely. That model spooked government officials and cybersecurity experts for its potential to find unknown vulnerabilities in software used around the globe. Fable comes with broad restrictions, Anthropic says, are aimed at kneecapping its ability to assist users with potentially dangerous activities. When a user touches on sensitive topics like bioweapons or cybersecurity, Fable pops up a notification and then redirects the conversation to an earlier, less capable model. Fable. That obviously was.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that obviously was kind of, that was the reason for the backlash. They said here, a hidden safeguard is harder to probe and work around, the company said in a statement. We made the wrong trade-off and we apologize for not getting the balance right. So it's essentially, I think what's most annoying for researchers who are using, frontier models at kind of the best of their ability is and kind of like really like redlining these models and getting them to stretch further than many other kind of users, is they're not being told that they're being nerfed essentially. So when research done whatever in the past is now spitting different answers because maybe the models are different, or there's a lot of kind of like shrouded uncertainty. And so you don't know if you're using the full capability of a model when you actually need to go and understand research or analyze something. So that's the kind of the backlash there, where it's like, I don't know if my model is actually getting to where it is, or if I'm actually just not finding the answers I want to.
I think they're forced to do this though, in a way, right? Because if they release it and they're like, this model is so dangerous that we can't release it.
Yeah, they get.
Then backlash. When they do. Like they get backlash. They'll get backlash for anything they do. But like, if they say that this model is so dangerous that we can't release it to the public, and when they do release it to the public, they're going to have to guardrail or safeguard some elements of it. And I saw that there was a funny headline from the BBC that read like, "Model too powerful for public rollout gets rolled out to the public." So it's just like. That they've kind of boxed themselves into a...
Yeah. Why is it released to the public other than you're nerfing it, like, even when I am using it?
Yeah, and some of the responses have been like really, like some of the examples that we've seen that we can pull up in a bit are like really impressive in terms of how it's operating and stuff. But it does... it does lend to like... The narrative has to stay consistent in a way where they've said, this is going to blow your socks off. It's actually too scary and powerful. But again, if it is actually as good as they said it is, and some of the examples that we can refer to shortly are pretty impressive, then like they do have to safeguard some of them because they don't want to get into the wrong hands. But like, how do you go about basically rolling out like a nuclear weapon to the whole world for anyone to use? It's just like, one, never been done before. Two, I guess to be fair to them, there is no right way to do that, I think.
Yeah, I think... You're right. Yeah. I mean, you're giving them the benefit of the doubt, I guess, which is fair and warranted. One of the there was a quote in the article that I read and said, "This is one of the first times. This is just below the picture. This is one of the first times that an AI company has rolled out a guardrail, and there has been uniform disdain," said Sayash Kapoor, an AI researcher at Princeton University. "It has led to a lot of justified anger. The new model does appear to be more powerful than previous generations. One user posted a video of a clunky but functional clone of the video game Grand Theft Auto, showing it being coded autonomously by Fable." But yeah, I mean, downright basically, the timeline was flooded, as I mentioned earlier, but it's just like no one was very happy. There was actually some very positive news about the branding of the launch video, which is super funny. We could probably we'll dive down on that, and then we'll go into the performance of the model and some other tweets that we've got. But let's go on the branding. Should we watch the release from Anthropic?
Yeah, I don't think I've actually...
It's actually a beautiful video. We've got it...
seen the whole thing yet.
Yeah, it's good. Are we up?
Yeah, hold on. Is this up now? Yeah, nice.
I think they've nailed the branding, by the way. It's pretty nice.
That is good. I like that.
Right? That's
good. Clean. That's got 50.8 million views.
Yeah. And this was a tweet from Chandra, who said, "Who is Claude's brand designer? They really cooked with the Fable 5 launch. Also interesting how a company at the cutting edge of AI imagery used used is explicitly more historical / hand drawn. OpenAI is explicitly futuristic by contrast. And you kind of flick through the pictures that Chandra has screenshotted, and it's true, right? It's like very hand drawn, very human, that kind of brand. And I think like the narrative and this kind of branding exercise, they're like worlds apart, and that's really interesting. I think obviously Anthropic's narrative generally has been safety and making sure that their models are not, they're very different in terms of narrative on the OpenAI stuff. But now in the Wall Street Journal, in Forbes, in the FT, like it's very negative. Dario is obviously very kind of like, doomer in terms of these models will cause bad as much as they will, have good in the world. But these are, I don't know, they're quite playful. They're, it's a playful brand. It's nice. Even what you heard in the background, right? It's fresh. It's, you're almost like feel like you're in a garden, right? Like
yeah. But it's like fully strategic, isn't it? All right, like it's safe. It's
but the brand doesn't
friendly,
really caution the fact that they're like, they're all in on safety. These things are super dangerous for human activity and all of that kind of stuff. So it's like, almost feels like a facade type thing, but also, not really. Like it's I mean, it's like strategic product marketing. They're trying to. They don't want to come across as, cyber dystopian. Future. But to me, but to me, it's working. It's working.
Like I think, and then we'd be surprised at, when we spoke to Roland over at Sky News, like him and I had a chat before he came on, in the sense where like, and we covered the whole play out for when both labs are going head to head. So when Claude won the hearts of the consumer market.
Yeah.
After the Department of War debacle, when they kind of openly rejected working with them, and then Trump and Peter Hegseth were like slamming him publicly. Like that was a inflection moment for like non-techies, for like normies to basically rally behind. I remember like it was Katie Price was like cancelled my OpenAI subscription. Like I stand with Claude. Obviously, not making a decision based off the capabilities of the company or the models, making a decision based off like the ethics and like the optics associated to the ethics of like how people are proceeding.
Regardless of how good OpenAI model gets, it could like one shot anything that I want it to, but I'm going with like
because I stand with like anti-Department of War, so that's the only reason they're on it. But like again, it's strategic. It works.
And it works, right? There was an article that came out, I think it was the Wall Street Journal as well, basically saying how OpenAI are basically like restricting and pulling back and sunsetting a ton of stuff. Like obviously they sunsetted, Sora and a bunch of all of their other projects, but they're also, making sure that their costs are lower than they have been because, Anthropic, younger company, but completely outdoing them in terms of the enterprise market and the market share that they have at the moment. And I think it is, not just down to their branding, but for sure the narrative is a huge pull for a lot of people.
And
obviously they've won the developer community as well. Obviously Codex is doing very well and growing in terms of usage numbers. But I think Anthropic is still like pretty far ahead.
Yeah, I think we keep seeing hints at this. Like I think we like drastically overestimate the speed at which like narratives take hold without, because we don't factor into account like the normie side of things. I think like we have these like such closed or like such short circuit feedback loops in there.
I feel like I need to do a better job of asking like my normie friends
and doing some research.
Do market research by asking your mates at the pub, like, hey, like, what do you think about Fable 5? Like if I said, what do you think about Fable 5 to people who weren't in tech? I think
that's
they would
like,
be like
far too. But that's I think even that's like. That's fair.
Do you reckon they would know what Opus 4.8 is? No.
No, I don't think so. I think they'd know Claude. I don't think they'd know the specific model breakdown. But like I like when I was getting the tube the other day, I was walking behind like a couple and they were like just talking very loudly, so I happened to be eavesdropping. And the guy was explaining to the girl
what model he uses.
No. Like, just like what Lovable is. He's like, it's like, this thing is going to revolutionize the whole world. Like, I can now just build any company I want. Like, breaking it down wrong to her, but it made me realize, like, oh man,
He's not
like,
tapping the
this
shoulder
guy,
and saying, "Hey man, this is wrong."
yeah, excuse me, mate. That's not true. A lot of cyber risks involved in doing that. No, I didn't do that. But
Lovable actually just hit a 500 million ARR. If you didn't know.
Which did shock the world, to be fair. But it did make me realize, like, oh wow, this guy's just catching. Not that I'm still on some like, look at me, I know what Lovable is, but it was interesting to see the fact that
You're definitely coming across like that. Right
he
now.
just, but that had just hit him. You know?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe we do live in this tiny little bubble where
That's crazy
all
that
the
Lovable
stuff
has
is
just hit him.
they probably poured the most out of any company, and maybe bar like the model providers, into like paid marketing and distribution and adverts and like all this sort of stuff. Like,
Well, I think they're inherently like they're as close to consumer as it gets in the kind of like no one would know what like I guess Cursor is like more of an IDE, right? But like no one would really know kind of what Cursor is if like a lot of people would know what Lovable is, right? And it's the reason why is because they have a consumer facing brand, and not that say like Granola doesn't, but like I think they've got into the kind of cultural just like weekend kind of like I don't know, vibe coder.
Yeah, well, normies,
Yeah,
right? Like
normies.
they would have no use for. They won't know what granola is, I don't think. Even though it is an inherently consumer based, like organic, non sort of technically adverse product. But like Lovable have been pouring cash into, and I've seen it on the ad. We can maybe go to Lovable News actually. It probably makes sense.
We could. I just wanted to touch on the so considering the Anthropic and OpenAI narrative thing. This was a Wall Street Journal that
I've put that in.
that I did actually. So I just linked it in the doc just because we hadn't had it linked, but we kind of like went onto that. But essentially, it goes: OpenAI considers drastic price cuts, anticipating war for users with Anthropic. This is kind of the thing that we were getting at, right? So OpenAI is considering drastically lowering the prices it charges users as it seeks to win customers from its rival Anthropic. The company is weighing significant cuts to what it charges for tokens, the unit of measurement artificial intelligence firms use to bill for their products. According to people familiar with the matter, the move would be in anticipation of similar cuts the company expects at Anthropic, the people said. Business executives have begun to balk at the high prices for AI usage. OpenAI chief executive Sam Altman said it at a recent event that cost had become a huge issue. I think we'll have a lot of ways we can help people get more value for less spend. So, inklings of like driving price down, and there's going to be a kind of, price cuts here, there, and everywhere. But it's all, playing on this narrative thing, right? What's cheaper, what's safer, what's kind of like not playing into this kind of like tech doomer, and kind of crazy, dystopian future, which I think we're all heading into anyway.
But on the price cuts, I think they can bank on the fact that I'd say that there's probably some sort of power law based off their revenue at the moment where like a large portion of their revenue, 90% of their revenue might come from like 10% of their customer base, which will probably be.
Well, they have almost like almost a billion users, right? So probably 950 million users. I think it's like 5% of those actually pay for the model, OpenAI.
It's that low. 5%.
I think it's that low. Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
don't quote me on that, but I'm going to say it's less than 15. I'm pretty sure it's around that. Let me use Claude to ask this question. Let me use my Fable 5 model.
But what I say is like they will have like I'd imagine that 90% of their revenues is coming from around 10% of their customer base, who I believe would probably be pretty price insensitive to price fluctuations in terms of what their like token spend is or consumption. I guess if you're a let's say like you're the UK government and you're using OpenAI. Maybe it's a bad example because they don't have that much money. But let's say you're a private company with like very, very sensitive data and you're using OpenAI to help you prepare for cybersecurity risks associated with finding vulnerabilities in your company and your product or whatever. Like, how do you price that? That would never become too expensive because you always need Do you know what I mean? To degrade the model or like decide one day, like, actually, you know what, that's actually a bit too much money for us. We're not going to be able to pay that because it's so incredibly important. It would remain like price inelastic. Like you would just, however much they start charging, you would just have to kind of go with it because you're kind of on the strings. I mean, obviously there would be a ceiling at that point, but I don't know. I feel like this would be more focused around companies who are AI maxing for the sake of AI maxing, like based off the RAMPS AI index recently or something around like the AI pilled companies are spending $7,000 per employee per month.
Yeah,
which is a lot of money.
Well, I saw a tweet hitting like their token usage is going to hit like over 1 million. I think it was 1.4 million. It was like we spend a few $100,000 at the moment a year on token consumption, you know. And this is now
600K,
and this is now a narrative that the the pricing and the models are getting so good now that it's going to become a usage thing and not a subscription thing. So Fable is being kind of like dubbed as like the last time that Anthropic won't you won't be able to access on like the best model unless you're paying per usage of the model, not a subscription fee, like a set subscription fee.
Yeah.
Because I assume they're kind of like they're hyper, you know, they're max users, and the people that are using it the most are probably absolutely draining like 90. So it's £90 a month in the UK to use to have the max plan, and you know, a lot of people who are on the max plan are probably draining way more than £90 a month in compute cost. And so
like
exactly
insanely more.
Yeah. So yeah, but I've found it. Roughly 5 to 6% of 900 million weekly active users are actually paying for, like, they're actually paid consumer subscribers. So 50 million people. OpenAI itself framed as more than 5% of weekly active users. On top of that, there are more than 9 million paying business users, a fourfold increase from September 2025. So the all-in paid base is around 59 million, roughly 6.5% of weekly active users of, you know, like, which include kind of like business seats.
So that would make, so like, you know, a portion of
those 9 million will probably make like as much, if not more money than those 50 million consumer users paying for OpenAI, like on a you know, $10 a month kind of standard. I don't know how much the standard subscription is.
I have no idea what it
but like
costs.
You know, the max is say like $90 to $100 a month. And the you know, the one below is maybe $30 a month, right? Those 50 million people who are paying whatever between in that window will probably be less revenue than those 9 million business like seat users.
Yeah. Well, I'd imagine that they're probably like the top 10 like premium business packages or whatever that are customized to specific
like
firms.
millions. Yeah.
They'll make up like 95% of the total
millions.
revenue from the whole thing.
Let's just quickly dive down into the model itself and the performance. There's a few tweets that came out. So Kanishka gave kind of a breakdown of what like they're talking about, and obviously we have Kanishka coming on the show a little bit later. But he said the AI Security Institute, world's leading testing, keeps the UK at the forefront of understanding frontier AI capabilities. AISI tested the cyber capabilities and safeguards of Anthropic's new Fable 5 model. You can see the contributions in one of the links that he's posted. But he said TLDR is that Fable 5 shows strong cybersecurity capabilities, continuing a trend we've been tracking and reporting. AI cyber capabilities are and will continue to advance. Rigorous testing and resilient defenses must advance with them. And then there was a bunch of other ones, which I think we should go through. Anything else?
No, just looking at his final one. It's crazy how Mythos and the cybersecurity vulnerabilities, like angle they took to market the product, have accelerated like non-tech. Not that Kanishka is tech native, but it's just insane how like the whole shift of the focus now has gone broadly to, for those like on the inside, have gone to like cybersecurity and like internal resilience to external threats.
Sure.
Based off like the model release. It's insane that like just by Anthropic picking that, whether it was a marketing route to go down to show how powerful the new product was, or because people could have done this before. They could have released a new model and been like, "This is so powerful that it's increased or it's upgraded the our ability to spot vulnerabilities in companies, and therefore also potential for bad intentioned users." But them doing it has it's just wild to see how much of the conversation is now around cybersecurity compared to take the show first 3-4 months of the show. I don't think we really ever covered anything to do with cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Mythos drops.
Yeah, bang.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting.
It's the main thing that people care about.
Yeah,
or safety is well, safety's always been a main concern, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
That's kind of cool.
Let's break down a few kind of just tweets that explain how powerful the model is. This was Alex Liebman, founder of Morning Brew, and now runs a bunch of companies. He said, "I got to test Fable 5 for the last week across a range of use cases. Quick reactions. I'm only going to do 2 because they're the most interesting. This model breaks the truism that AI is like your overzealous, forgetful intern. It's smart, very, very smart. I wanted to push the model really freaking hard, so I had to rebuild 2 complex pieces of software, one for content and one for recruiting, that I use frequently. I've generally been anti-SaaSpocalypse, but given how close Fable got to one-shotting these tools, it was very, very eye-opening experience." Which you're seeing this model, as I think we touched on in the Wall Street Journal article. I saw one example of it building the Minecraft, building a Minecraft server, and someone playing a Fable code generated Minecraft game. Same for GTA 5 as well.
Yeah.
So it's super, super, super powerful. And then there was another one from Todd Sanders, who we're actually meant to be getting on the show at some point, but we just can't work out dates. This is actually nuts. If we go into this is kind of nuts. We'll watch the video in a sec, but he said Mythos/Fable is unbelievable. Was on a customer call today and had Claude transcribing in the background. As they were telling me about the features they wish their current software had, Claude was building the features in real time. By the end of the call, I was able to show a fully working product with the exact workflow they mentioned 15 minutes earlier. Autonomous looped building triggered from a customer call. Now watch this. This is actually nuts. It's that's what obviously Claude is listening to. And it's just building it for them.
So when I first saw this, the first thing I thought about was
I got 1.6 million views. Damn,
incredibly well.
Todd, come on the show, please.
When I first saw this, the first thing that came to mind was Friedrich over Pit.
Yes.
So this is he launched Pit before this dropped. I'm sure there were maybe some other use cases that people were experimenting with Mythos before. We had the Fable release, but it does seem now that the next sort of step that doesn't seem that far away is going to be this real-time ability to conjure up, whether it's products or feedback related to prod, or it's basically creating in that moment. The roadmap is a thing of the past.
Yeah.
There is no longer a need for a roadmap. It's just you kind of speak it into existence. And when we first spoke with Friedrich, that's Friedrich Helm, co-founder of Voy and now Pit, they raised from A16Z recently. When I first spoke to him and he kind of walked us through how the platform would operate, I was like, oh, that's insane. Then that makes sense. They're selling these outcomes. They're kind of like a highly leveraged consultancy service with AI embedded throughout the whole thing that's just run on agents. But I do think that will probably be, when we'll probably see some more pop up, but that will probably be the next step. Is these people will be building these highly focused SWAT teams around implementing whatever it is that a customer is looking for immediately through, maybe it's I'm on a call and I've got Granola hooked up to, some sort of Claude API and it's just pulling it straight in there and it's building it out on the back end. Before the call's done, problem solved. I mean, there'll obviously be some intricacies within that, whereas is it
yeah, but as long as 80 to 90% of the app is done, that's all you need. The software is done, right?
Yeah.
It's let me show the consumer, or let me show the prospect or the customer, the bare bones of what they were just talking about. They'll probably be like, oh damn, that's nuts that you already have that.
Yeah.
and then they were like, cool, when can we get this done? You know, you probably, if it's done it already in the call, if it's made 80 to 90% of it in the call, you could probably spend an hour, maybe two, actually making it useful and ready for the customer usage. And you say, cool, I'll come back by the end of the day to give you to give you the thing that I've just shown you, basically. And just like,
but then where does that where does that stop then, right? Because then if let's say that you have this embedded into every single company on earth, let's take all like large incumbents, whatever, even in departments,
it's just like
the
software
companies
flying
become
everywhere.
They become almost like a living organism in a way, where you can talk to the company to ask it to repair itself and build itself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If like you're like, hey guys, we're having a product with this problem, you get your gooseneck mic out and you're talking to the tannoy and you say like, you know, hey, sort this problem out. It's almost like you can interface with the company through voice.
Yeah.
I'm
having a problem with this company.
Organism.
I'm having a problem with this like very small thing in the company, or a customer wants this exact workflow to work. Please make it work. Done.
I'd say that is probably AGI full stop, and you're not allowed to move the goalposts after that.
Stop moving goalposts.
Like I don't think you'd be allowed to push the definition of that further.
Yeah.
If we get to a point where you can just talk to your own company and the company self-heals.
Like shifts. Yeah.
A self-healing company.
Yeah.
I think that would be the point where you have to be like, okay, surely that is impressive enough to stamp that as AGI.
AGI, all the model leaders like have AGI on like a whiteboard, and they've crossed it off.
Yeah, that's done now. Tick.
Let's go.
Todd's
world domination next. Anyway, let's move on. Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com. That was the wrong.
Yeah, I
sound
know.
to
I've
use.
hit that before. Cha-ching is a bit better, a bit softer.
Just before we have let's get on, Lovable has hit $500 million in annualized revenue with 1 million new projects a week. That's bonkers. This is an article from TechCrunch. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, this
blew my mind.
For many reasons, but again, it comes back to this idea that we do live in this bubble. But there was a bit of a narrative around Lovable being at risk for the recent pushes. One would suspect that they have like a pretty high burn rate. In order to sustain that burn rate and the growth, like they have to attract venture capital cash. If that growth is sort of starting to plateau, then VCs might not want to touch it because they'll start asking about the moat. What's the longevity here? But again, we had the same thing with Cursor when everyone was like, Cursor's dead. I don't know any engineers using Cursor. 4 weeks after that narrative, it came out that they crossed like 2 billion in revenue or something insane. And I think we're seeing a similar thing here with Lovable, where I'd even imagine that it's probably already higher than 500 million, in the sense where they're capturing so much of the market that isn't necessarily baked into the tech native space. And we're seeing this with the ads that they're releasing. They're highly focused on consumers. You know, it's very UGC created. They're running like huge growth campaigns across short form video, YouTube, TikTok, Insta Reels. And even down all the way down to like street interviews, where it's non-tech native people interviewing non-tech native people, and the question is, what business do you want to create, or like what's something that you've always wanted to build? What business have you been working on in the background? I've been wanting to do this, or whatever, and they're like, okay, well here you can build it now, and they just like do voice dictation. The person says what business they want, and then it makes a landing page, but to a person who's never seen that before. Yeah. They're kind of getting that Lovable moment for the first time, like many of us did back, 2.5, 3 years ago. And
ages ago.
It's incredibly impressive for these people that are seeing it. So I'm not surprised that this is still running. Like we always forget, like the TAM is not just people in tech for a lot of these products. We forget that there's a whole other world outside of that. And I think this is another example, as I said, like we saw with Cursor, but Lovable last discussed its revenue in February. We covered that when the company said it had crossed $400 million in ARR. In August 2024, Lovable said it could hit $1 billion in annualized revenue within 12 months. It may not be on track to double that figure by summer, but it is still reporting jaw-dropping growth. The company, founded late in 2023, hasn't even hit its 3-year anniversary yet.
So nuts.
Which is insane to see. Like this is like Lovable set the tone for like fastest growing in the new era of AI, I think, on the application layer specifically. I remember when we were at Convergence and we were seeing them, they were very build in public focus back then, not as much anymore, but they were very build in public focus, very, very open about their ARR numbers, and kind of used their growth as another marketing tool, which was like expertly done. But I remember when they did their Series A, and I think it was like 20 million or 17 million, I can't remember the specific numbers, but it was something around that. and they were posting their growth chart. And I remember, like, I've told this story before, but Siavash, like an advisor to Convergence, he was his company got acquired by Shopify back in, I can't remember when, like a few years ago, but he was mentioning he was an angel investor in Lovable, and he mentioned when he was chatting about their hockey stick, someone showed them this hockey stick growth chart, and they were like, okay, yeah, cool, but like, can you show me the chart for paid users, not free users? And he's like, yeah, dude. Like, Tom was like, dude, like, that's the paid user chart, which is insane.
Revolution.
Anyway, we can pause there. We have our first guest coming into
Before
the
we
studio.
do that, Framer, build better sites faster. The all-in-one platform where enterprise teams design, build, and ship production-ready websites. No dev handoff, no bottlenecks, no creative compromises. Go to framer.com/ETN. Let's go. Alex Holt, Field CTO at ElevenLabs, new role. Congrats.
That's a quick round of applause.
Thanks very much.
Feel?
It's pretty great. It's been a really crazy couple of years. So joined ElevenLabs really at the start, and so watching the growth from where we were and where we started to this has been it's been an insane ride.
I can imagine. We had Carl's Reiner on the show just on Tuesday when we were live at the Cherry Summit, and we were asking him a bunch of questions. You know, what was it like in the early days? How has that compared to now? What's the journey been like? And obviously, he could give it us from a position from the go-to-market side of things. I'd love to ask you, from the engineering side, like, what was it like in those pre-10 employee days, and like how have things changed up until now?
Yeah. So I mean, the difference there's some differences. Actually, a lot of it, the culture is very, very similar. So the things that were different was when I joined, we were working in a small box office in London. There were four or five of us in that office, with like just desks crammed in. And then no two other employees were in the same country. We were spread across Europe. And I remember thinking that was really, really cool. The engineering team was truly like a European team with our London hub being very small. Everybody's working extremely hard on the things that they owned. Everybody had a huge amount of ownership area and just built whatever they needed to do to make the thing work. The thing that's changed is we've got a bigger office in London. Right? Our office is pretty huge now. We've actually just outgrown it. We're making another big investment into another office which is 3 times bigger than the one we currently have. And we've got offices in Warsaw and San Francisco, New York. And a whole bunch of other places, but the same. Everybody's working very hard. Everybody has their clear ownership areas. Everybody's doing what they need to do to build that piece of the puzzle. Is still very much there, and so it kind of just feels like we've got more people, and we've increased our space, but the energy is as it was before.
I love it. I love to hear it. So cool. And let's dig into your new position. I'm assuming this is connected to some sort of like forward deployed mechanism, but can you just break down like what is a field CTO? What do they have to carry out, and what is it at ElevenLabs as well? Like what's your new remit?
Yeah, sure. So my remit, so I lead our forward deployed engineering teams globally. Forward deployed engineering is something that's been a part of ElevenLabs since the beginning. So I was forward deployed engineer number 1 when I joined. But really, this is to signify that as we're growing, that role is becoming even more important and intrinsic to our business, and we see it as one of our kind of pieces of secret sauce. Yeah. And we wanted to make sure that kind of others are aware that we see that as a really important part of our offering. And so, really, what our forward deployed engineers have done right from the beginning is they're able to bridge the gap between our research teams and our product teams and our customers. And we do that by doing true engineering, building at the edge, working with customers as a single team to identify what is the problem they need to solve. And then we work out together, how do we solve it? And as a combination of both tech, but also transformation and process and really working with their business to understand how to point AI at the problem. But the thing that's really, we really see as our secret sauce is we've been doing this from the beginning, and we're applying FTE not just to our product teams, but also to our research teams. And so because ElevenLabs is in this very unique position of owning not just the product layer, but also the model layer, like the kind of the amount of kind of impact that we can have when we truly understand what customers are trying to do with those things is a lot higher.
Yeah. How much of your kind of like I'm sure you kind of get a good taste of when you've been working with a customer for a little bit of time and then they kind of start like, you know, testing things on their own, and then you come back and check in and they're like, and you know, you're like, oh my God, you've done a bunch of stuff that, you know, we didn't even realize that you guys wanted to do. How much of that is like, you know, you get a taste of knowing when a customer is ready to kind of go off on their own almost? You know, how much of the business is kind of like, you know, you guys go and do your own thing now, we'll go and focus on like a different customer to kind of get to that point?
I mean, that's amazing. That's the best point of these projects. So, you know, the goal of forward deployed engineering is not to sell services that then a customer is locked into forever. Actually, I don't want to sell services. Like I want to help customers to transform their business using our models, using our products. And you know, we acknowledge it's really hard to do that. And so to kind of start that process, you need a combination of people that really understand the business, really understand what that transformation looks like. And that has to come from the customer. They have to, you know, they have that essence, that knowledge that, and we don't, we're technologists at the end of the day. But you also need that knowledge of how the models work, how the product works, which problems are good fits for AI versus what aren't. And also have an opinion of, okay, well, where can we build new if they're not a perfect fit right now, where can we build new capabilities, new things to ensure that they are a fit? But ultimately, like that's knowledge that we can help a customer learn and build in-house. And once they have that, you know, our goal is to build products to make it really easy to apply that and level those teams up so they have that knowledge. And then, excellent, we should step back, let them do their thing. They understand their business better than we do. And then we can move and kind of take the next biggest problem and work out where we can really make a big difference.
Yeah.
And
I think on the forward deployed stuff, like we felt like covering that, like the frequency in which forward deployed is mentioned is kind of skyrocketed amongst like a number of different sort of SaaS companies. Your revenue metrics show that you guys are doing it right and you're doing it very well, and your growth metrics also support that as well. But I think that it almost became at some point like a marketing line that some companies that didn't know how to do it, maybe they've been around for quite a while and they're only just now sort of migrating to try and show them that, you know, show their customers that they are thinking about AI, and they've kind of slapped this word forward deployed on. Like, are there lessons learned from you, like scaling this motion from where it was back then to now, that you're like, okay, if you are a field CTO, you know, another software incumbent, like here's what you shouldn't be rushing to do, like, and here are the things you need in place before you go and do that. Like, any learnings that you've got to share?
Well, I think honestly, the biggest thing is, like, if you're doing forward deployed engineering, the question should be why. Like, why that and not like solution engineering was a thing for a very long time, and it works very, very well. Like, if you have a product that you want to deploy at scale in an efficient way, like traditional solution engineering, pre-sale, post-sale works really, really well. Okay, and so why would you do something differently? And the difference between forward deployed engineering and solution engineering is essentially that we actually do a lot more co-building. We create blended teams with our customers. We're not just selling our software, but we want to understand what problem they're trying to solve, and then we're solving it with them. And you know, what our customers get from that is they get access to kind of real expertise and real, like, some of the best software engineers and AI engineers globally to kind of bear against that problem. And what we get from that is that we actually get to see our software, our models being pointed at real problems. And the learnings that we get from that mean that we can tune those models, we can make those models better, not taking any data, but taking the learnings and applying those to the way that we think about products and the way that we think about building our next generations of models and agents platforms. And so, it's almost, in some ways, it's kind of it's an R&D function but it's a very expensive thing to do as a business. Like, this is not something we do to generate revenue. It's something that we think is important so that our customers see value from our tech, and we learn how to differentiate ourselves in the future. If you already have a software and a piece of software that works, and you've got a roadmap and that you have a lot of confidence in, and actually you just want to scale that, forward deployed engineering is not the right thing.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Good message.
You're obviously leading kind of like enterprise deployment, and like and ElevenLabs is just shipping partnerships like all the time, right? I think you just did a partnership with Trainline. You're doing a bunch of kind of like government body stuff as well. What's the dynamic between kind of building with, a company like Trainline and then like a government body as well? Like how do you kind of like navigate, working with very kind of different, businesses and bodies and all of this kind of stuff?
Firstly, it's super. I think it's super interesting to be able to apply 100%. Technology to all these spaces. The mission of ElevenLabs is basically to help improve communication between enterprises and the world, their users, their employees, the world. And so, these are actually different versions of that same problem from a technology perspective. The way that we kind of handle it internally is that we have, this is the kind of where the separation between forward deployed engineering and the product teams comes into play, and the research teams. So the product teams and the research teams are building products and platforms that are with an idea of how to make that kind of generally applicable to all of these problems where we're trying to solve ultimately communication between an enterprise and their users or their citizens or their employees. And so they're thinking about the general concepts and the way that we can apply AI as efficiently as possible and as effectively as possible. The forward deployed engineers are almost on the opposite end, and you say, you just need to make it work for Trainline. You work with Trainline, work out what the outcome is that we want to achieve, how we do that, apply AI to that problem as a tool, and you just need to solve for that one specific problem. And that means you get two very, very just different perspectives on what we're building, how we're building that product. The product team have this a brilliant roadmap and a brilliant idea of, okay, this is the future, the perfect kind of experience to build and deploy agents to communicate. And then the kind of the forward deployed engineer comes away with like, okay, well, for Trainline, they needed this one thing. Like, where does that fit in that roadmap? And if it does, then that's great. If it doesn't, then that's a data point with very real evidence to then question the roadmap and start to shape that. And so actually we do very intentionally, like if you're a forward deployed engineer at ElevenLabs, your goal is the same as the customer's goal. It's one team, one outcome. You have to work to achieve that outcome, whether that's the Trainline helping their customers get better support, whether it's with the government helping citizens get better advice and making that advice more accessible. And then you bring those learnings as data points back so the product team can think, okay, if we're trying to change how all enterprises communicate with their customers, what's the optimum strategy for doing that kind of across all of these kinds of spaces?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, that's really interesting. We've got about 3 minutes left. Just wanted to get your taste or thoughts on a topic that we've been discussing for most of the show for the last hour is around like the release of Fable. It's taken over the timeline. Looks like it's pretty powerful. Have you messed around with it? Any thoughts on it at all? Or
so we're starting to mess around with it. It's super impressive. I think it's still very, very early in terms of understanding the limits. I think agentic coding is especially as we're seeing kind of these level ups every 3 to 6 months, which completely changed the game. It's still early to say whether Fable is that, although it does appear to be. I think all this shows is AI is changing the way that we do our jobs as software engineers, and I think this year is going to be the year where enterprises start to see that in their own workflows, and we start to branch out of it just being something that really excites software engineers and coders, or actually people start to see kind of Fable level jumps in functionality in their own businesses. And that's certainly what we're seeing. We're seeing kind of this is the year where people are starting really moving from pilots and kind of demos to actually like releasing things into production, and actually it changing the way that they're interfacing and communicating with their customers. And the things that you were mentioning before, like this kind of like waves of announcements with enterprise partners that you're seeing from ElevenLabs, I think it's testament to that, which is this stuff is really good now. And it's only going to get better. And it's getting better every 3 to 6 months. And every 3 to 6 months, everybody takes back and goes, wow. And we want to help our customers and our partners to have that same experience that we have when we try Fable with coding, but with 11 agents for customer support or citizen advice or whatever it may be.
So you're saying like engineers, it's already kind of got so good for engineers, but you're still seeing like, oh my God moments, you're still having those moments.
I mean, I think, there's somewhat still a bit of a bubble in that if you in this circle, and like, you talk to software engineers and everybody's tracking these things with beta breath, and they see Fable and they go and try it immediately, and they're like, and then, but outside of the kind of very immediate tech sphere, there's still lots of pockets of people in these enterprises where you're speaking to them and you're showing these things. They're like, I didn't know it was possible to do that, because it's without the right tooling, it's very hard to see how does Fable change the way that my customer support organization works, right? It's very easy if you've got Claude code and you're just going to stop playing with it as a software engineer. What ElevenLabs is solving is, with our 11 agents product, we want to make it so that those people that are so far removed from software engineering can have that same, oh my god, the new model's been released, let's see how it handles these questions that previously couldn't take.
Yeah,
Sure.
That makes sense. This has been super fun. We have to do this again. We'd love to be kept up to date on the forward deployed engine that ElevenLabs has built. But Alex, thank you and congrats on the new role. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thanks so much.
Anytime.
Great to be here.
You too. Cheers, dude.
See you soon. Great to meet you. Awesome stuff. Base, the infrastructure for the on-chain world. Base is built to empower builders, creators, and people everywhere to build apps, grow businesses, create what they love, and earn on-chain. Go to base.org.
Up next, we've got Daniel coming onto the show. He has an announcement to make as well. I mean, the news is already broke, but we would love to hear it from the horse's mouth. Daniel, how are you? Welcome to the European Technology Network.
Hi, guys. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. I'm loving you. Are you in a podcast studio? Because I'm seeing the wooden panels in the background. I love it. Professional setup. That's so awesome, dude.
But we're trying to.
This way, go on.
Sorry, we're trying to get more creative here, because like I think the wooden setup is already like, it's so basic, and we're trying to get more fancy. Like something that we're thinking is like, since we're doing AI phone agents, that we just get like a million like old school phones hanging from the ceilings behind me.
Nice. Nokias, something like that.
Yeah. Just like stick them to the walls. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. You can do it in like a chronological order as well.
Like age of phone, like
age
brick,
of phone.
like the long. What's the one? I mean, I was too. I'm
like
too
a
young
big
to know,
brick.
The one where you pull it up and
phone.
you have the brick on the. I don't know what
nice.
that was. That could be good. Anyway, look, we let's not talk about phones for too long. You have some news to share. It has already broke, but let's hear it from you. What's happened over at Fonio over the past few days?
So it was crazy. So we just raised our 70 million seed round, led by 20 VC from around Harry Stebbings. And it was wild. We did the round, we got preempted. So it was without a pitch deck, without proper financial plan, and currently growing like hell. And it's very fun to build the company.
Let's go. And you guys have been on a bit of a tear. Can you maybe just give us a little bit, like before the raise, like how have things been going growth wise, metrics wise? And then we'd love to dig in more into the product itself as well.
Yeah, let's do it. So it's quite funny because we actually bootstrapped the company until like only 7 months ago. And then we really like hit an inflection point. And when doing that, we then raised an angel round in December, 3 million, with a bunch of cool people. And then since the start of the year, the growth really accelerated. So we went from roughly like 1.5 million ARR until 7 now, growing like roughly 30% month over month. We're on track to reach 10 million ARR this summer, depending on how bad the summer break is either like next month in July or in August. And our goal is to reach 30 million ARR by the end of the year.
Wow, that's crazy.
Dude, that's insane. Wait, so bootstrapping this to that level, that's pretty mad. And we don't really see too many bootstraps.
No, not a ton.
Founders on the show.
We've had Veed on, but that's pretty much it. And maybe like chat base as well.
Chat base. Yeah. What decision to bootstrap first? Like what? How come that was part of the plan? What was this?
Okay, so like since like Fonio is not my first company, and also with my co-founder, we both previously had a company. I sold at the beginning of 2024. And for me, one of the largest learnings was only take on money if you actually know how to spend it, and like just wait as long as possible till you take on money. And this is essentially what we did. We still were quite aggressive. So we were in a lucky position that we both had a little bit of savings. So what we did is we said, while we were bootstrapping, we still need to grow 30% month over month. So what we did is we just like also increased our go-to-market and marketing spending 30% per month. And if we wouldn't hit like more than 30%, we would lose money. So it was always a very aggressive mode in which we're growing. And that got to a point, to be honest, like back then when we raised the angel round, it was just out of position where we were like, okay, you know what, right now we're spending back then over like 200K a month. This is now too much. Like if things would go south, we couldn't cover it for long anymore privately. So then we raised. And that was like the decision actually from bootstrap to then angel round. Now with the proper seed round, of course, this is different. Like we invest now a lot into product and internalization and globalization.
That's so cool.
Talk to us about the importance of putting that money into the kind of marketing spend first, and kind of getting that going, getting the ball rolling, because the TAM of what you guys are building is I imagine huge. You're building for the SME kind of market, but it's getting in front of those people. Can you talk to us about the importance of doing that first, and then kind of focusing heavier into the product once you've now raised the kind of like seed round?
So go-to-market wise, like you just start to touch the market size. I think like, by the way, since we didn't touch it properly yet, like essentially what we do is we started out as an AI phone agent for SMBs, doing that quite successful now. We have over 10,000 or close to 10,000 customers across Europe. And now we're also expanding into new products, being a WhatsApp agent, email chatbots, etc. Okay. And like essentially like our market size, and this is now super hard, but it is the truth, is like the salaries of everyone who's working in repetitive phone calls, emails, etc. in SMBs, right? So like for us as a risk profile, as a company in general, in the space that we're building, is like the companies that will win this will get insanely large because the market size is so large. So for us, the risk profile is just, will we get large enough fast enough? This is why we need to be like hyper aggressive on growth.
Yeah. Okay. That's so cool. I'm just thinking, like, what made you get back in the arena? Like, what made you get? You said that you've done this before. You've been through the journey. You've probably experienced how hard it can be, and all the pain associated with it. But also, the good side. But what made you want to like get back in the trenches?
Yeah, you gotta love the pain. No, to be honest, I don't think I can do anything else. But I don't think I can do anything else but build companies. Like I just love it. I've been building companies since age 15. Before Fonio, I actually had 2 companies. And like we recently got 2 acquisition offers, and like every time that happens, I'm like, it just strikes me again. Like it only took me like a second to say no. Like it was for me so obvious that all I want to do is build a great company. And I think what we have with Fonio is so rare because our idea is so simple, right? I mean, like we started out with, hey, like it's like you lose a lot of phone calls as an SMB, so like might just use AI to get available again. Like this is such a broad idea. It's almost like on the level as like early 2000, it's hard to find stuff in the internet. Like we should make an engine that you find stuff, right? So it's on that level. So it would be stupid to do anything else but what we're doing with Fonio for the next couple of years, because I think like this is like the most exciting opportunity ever at the moment.
Yeah, sure. And talk to us about how big the market is for this, and what the plan to go and take a load of that market share is for Fonio.
So considering market share, we essentially built the market. Like I always say, like I don't want to build Fonio like a normal B2B brand. I think a lot of startups make the mistake of being too polished, too nice, not crazy enough. And in my opinion, you essentially, in order to win SMBs, you need to build like a Gymshark, but for B2B. So we would work a lot with influencers, a lot with performance marketing. We have a large partner and affiliate program, which is working very, very well. So investing a lot into that. And therefore it's also, and it kind of like entering new markets almost feels like building an e-com brand there. Like when you're an enterprise, you always need boots on the ground. But with us, we just invest a lot into like the things that I just said. And it's Therefore, we're now already in over 7 different countries, and it's working quite well. And market size wise, I wish I could answer you that one. Again, I think the market side, like it's a multi-billion-dollar market. The market size is essentially everyone who's doing repetitive phone calls, emails, and communication in general in SMBs. Because like should I also jump a little bit into our game plan as a company?
Yeah, yeah, do it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Quite an ambitious plan.
Yeah.
So for us, it was for us, it was always very clear that we want to start out with AI phone agents, because what we see with so many SMBs is like their entry point into like truly working with AI. Many of them played around with ChatGPT before, but like none got true business value out of it. Mm-hmm. And once they understand how easy it is to set up an AI phone agent with Fonio, because it only takes like 5 minutes, and connect it to your calendar, etc. They then ask us, hey, can you also automate my email? Can you also do chatbots? Can you also do WhatsApp? Can you also do phone system? And so on and so forth. So for us, it was then very clear that the second step of our journey would be to not just provide phone agent, but then to also like essentially provide to customers like communication holistically, that they just need to use us. And then the third step that we're doing, like we're already in the second step, just released WhatsApp. And third step is for us that we're going to build out a proper CRM around that. Because what we see is like so many customers of ours also request, like if they get a phone call or if the AI conducts a phone call, like we can automatically extract a lot of variables and data out of that call, being the first name, address, etc. So if you call again, it already like AI already greets you by your first name. If you say I want to order something, it just tells you, yeah, is your address still correct? And it's like so powerful if you then interconnect it between the different channels. So that doesn't just happen with phone, but also with email, and just always nurtures it. So that is like for us then the layer that we're building on top. And then like that will be done until like the end of this year. We're already like also on track building this year. Wow. And we're currently investing a lot into product. And the last step is actually that we want to use, or we believe that like providing everything around AI communication is the thing that you need, that SMBs can actually truly start to work with AI employees. Because when you looked at the likes of OpenClaw, etc., that was very in hype a few months ago. The problem with OpenClaw, etc., is it's just super random, right? Super powerful, but super random. But it was like, it gave you the first time a feeling of how an agentic like AI employee could truly look like, because it just did stuff by itself.
Yeah.
And in order to solve that for a B2B context, you need two things. You need like context and triggers. And we have so much context about our customers, because in order for them to get an AI phone agent to run, or an email agent, or WhatsApp agent, they just need to put in a lot of business context into this. And the more conversations the agents conduct, like the better they get, right? So we do have the context that a fully like almost an AI like employee like agent doesn't just do random stuff all the time. So context, there's a check under it. And the second thing you need is triggers, that just doesn't roam around within your organization and does random stuff. And there's no bigger trigger inside a company than communication. Customer wants something, you need to do something, right? So this is why we see like communication as like the base to then truly go deep into organizations. So for us, then we will actually go even further beyond, and not just to communication, but actually like then create deeper employees, like for example, that we help our customers to take over their finance and so on and so forth. Yes.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Okay, so you're building you're building like horizontal utility for the whole business, essentially.
It's kind of like everything.
Yeah, that's the game plan, and I think like.
Sorry, go on.
And I think like the crazy, or not the crazy part is the thing is that is a little difficult when you work with SMBs is they're non-technical, right? So we're working with the car dealership next door, the carpenter, plumber, etc. So like you cannot just throw them on Claude Code, etc., and be like build your own stuff. Like our setup is super easy. It only takes you like 5 minutes to do it, but it's still too complex. Yeah. For many SMBs. And we're so obsessed on making this simple, but it's still too hard. So this is why we believe like this is a very, like for SMBs, you just need to build different kind of product that you currently than the stuff that you currently see out there.
Yeah. I guess you've got kind of two routes, right? Where you're either kind of deploying like an FDE route where you go into the company and you help said company build specific things for that specific use case, or you make it as easy as humanly possible to just onboard and get value as soon as possible. Would you say that those are the two routes that you could go down?
100%. Like the part that you just touched on, like provide value as easy as possible, is, to be honest, the crucial one. Like creating, it's so important to create this wow moment within, like, to be honest, the first 30 to 60 seconds as soon as you log in. We 100%. See like right now it's so that simple, but we see like people playing around for like 2 minutes and then they're like, too complicated, not touching this. Yeah. Like it's insane. So like it needs to be that simple.
That makes sense. It's crazy that that's so cool. The way I'm hearing like you describe it in a weird way, like SMEs/SMBs, even like with your go-to-market model, can also be treated in a way like a consumer, in the sense where like you can run these like affiliate links or maybe like short form UGC creators that are related to the product itself. But I guess it is, you can you are I guess you are in a way selling to consumers, because I can't imagine how many employees are at these businesses, but maybe it is between like 5 and 10.
Exactly. Like it's a little bit higher. It's usually between 10 and 100. But at the end of the day, like our ICP, they're business owners, usually men between 30 and 50. So like they're normal consumers. And so you need to treat them differently. But they're an amazing target audience, because like their purchase power and decision power is so fast. So like our average time to close is under 48 hours. Because like if someone wants it, they just buy it because it's their own company.
That is such a short sales cycle. That's insane. That's almost
like consumer, like
it's like the speed of a consumer product, though, dude. It's an enterprise product.
It's just like if they want it, they buy it. That's it.
Damn, dude, that's so sick. I'm realizing we are 1 minute over, so we'll have to end it there because we have our next guest coming on. But congrats on the news, congrats on the growth, and congrats on the big vision. It's really cool, man. We'll have to have you back on for the next round.
Devo, give us an update, because you guys are smashing it, which is really exciting.
Will do. Really enjoyed it, guys. Have a good one. Ciao.
Cheers, bro. Have a good one. Nice one.
Awesome stuff. MessaView, AI agents for winning teams, the agentic recruiting platform built for radically efficient hiring end-to-end. Source, engage, and hire better with agents that truly get your brief. Go to messaview.ai. Next on the show, we have Kostas. He's the co-founder and chief cryptographer. Cryptographer. Yep. At MystenLabs. Should be coming on any minute now, I believe.
We didn't finish on the Lovable article.
Please.
So would love to just go back to some of the points that were being made in here.
Yeah, please.
Picking up kind of where we left off. For anyone who's new, joined the stream since we interviewed Alex, we were discussing Lovable has hit 500 million ARR annualized revenue only 1 month after it was said that they'd hit 400 million. And I do actually remember there was an exclusive with the Lovable CRO, whose name I'm forgetting, about how they added 100 million ARR from 300 to 400 in 1 month. So they did 300 to 400 in like a month. That was reported though back in February, I think. But just some nuts numbers. But anyway, the company has also claimed that it's been used to build over 50 million projects, and says usage has accelerated to 1 million new projects a week, which is insane numbers. Obviously, one would have to maybe define what is a project. Is a project something that is generating revenue? Probably not. Is it something that you've made in under a certain amount of time? I'm not sure. Like, what does classify as a product? Is it, I've gone and I've made a few points, and then I've been given my maybe I've built like a to-do list or something. I know it's a dreadful example, and it's one shot at it. Is that a project? I probably would say that would be a project. So when we talk about the 50 million projects, does that include, things that I've maybe one-shotted or one-prompted.
Yeah, this actually ties into a tweet that we were looking at this morning, where it's like everyone now has a graveyard of projects, right?
I only have a graveyard of projects.
We were talking to Laura at OpenAI about this in Panathenia, because she was saying everyone has so many projects. I think it was Laura, but she was saying, or someone, basically like everyone has a ton of projects, but you only actually use like maybe one or two. But you've got so many things in the graveyard that like you could go back, pull, and kind of actually go and build properly. So it's you're going to be using it every day or every week, and it's going to be added to your workflow. But there was that tweet, right? That was. It was talking about how someone, let me just get it up. I think, AI, you're working more than ever. So this was from Tom Van Lieshout, if we want to get this up. It says, guys, be honest. Are you working less because of AI? Because I'm working more than ever. And the comments kind of ring true, right? Laura Muriano was actually in the comment session saying, working more than ever and building more than ever, more than I ever imagined. Someone else said, it's so weird, isn't it? Everyone expecting that AI reduce your workload. It has in a way, but then the expectation has increased, right? People were expecting people to do more, and therefore kind of work has generally increased. Essentially, like everyone's saying that they're, I guess, doing less work, but in reality, they're doing more work.
It's like less work per project.
Yes, but
more
more
projects per hour.
There you go. Nice.
Maybe those are the metrics that we should be tracking.
Yeah.
But I would say, I only have a graveyard of like projects.
Sure.
I'm not really like a projects guy with AI, but I do use it for most of my existing workflows that I have to make them.
But what you're saying there is that you just haven't necessarily gone as deep to getting it ingrained into your workflow. Like you've done maybe a few.
I've done the bare minimum.
Yeah. You've done the minimum. You've had a look, and you've dipped your toe, and then you're not going fully in.
No, yeah. I'm not.
You've dipped your toe, and then you've gone back to the beach bar.
Yeah, which I love. I love the beach bar. I've sat down, I've ordered a burger. I've got a nice cold Madri being poured, waiting to sip on that.
Nice. None a Negroni? No?
No. I would like a Moscow Mule would be
nice.
acceptable. Moscow Mule is my favorite cocktail. For those who don't know that. But I do think it's I mean, I am more enabled to do the stuff quicker. I would say quality-wise, it's probably at parity. I'm just doing it quicker, which is, that is efficiency gain, because same amount of work, being done quicker to the same quality. That's a big thumbs up. I'm still, to be fair, I just think like specifically for our business, like interview prep is actually quite good with AI. I was surprised at how good it can get. And I know it's kind of trivial because we're talking about like model capability here, when in reality, like most of the stuff that we do is amongst like guest preparation and stuff like that. Like we only, I guess, with a Fable or any like competing OpenAI model, like we're talking at these people are at the frontier of.
We're doing like we're scraping the
which like, all of them could probably just do the same, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
I haven't really messed around with too many of those. But it's funny because I remember really, really early days, like Perplexity was really good at this. Like Perplexity was like a great thing to use to do like guest research and stuff like that, because it would always link sources. That was something native that they did initially. You kind of
that was super useful.
Yeah. And now everyone else can do that.
Anyway, I think we have Kostas in the studio. Can you hear us, Kostas?
Yes, good to see you guys.
Yeah, you too. How's it going?
Hello, sir. Welcome to the European Technology Network.
I know. As you know, I'm the nerd. I'm still programming and taking this podcast as well at the same time.
How many agents do you have running at the moment?
In this computer, all of the data center of the house. I don't know.
Nice.
Hundreds. Guys, data centers will be the future anyway. I mean, even all of us here, we're going to have our own data center down there.
Really?
Wait,
let's
blow this up. What do you mean? Like, can you explain this a little bit more? Like, we're going to have our own data centers. When is this going to happen?
This is Exactly. So what's happening now is I personally see a lot of people very influential across the world, including leaders, prime minister, who's working in the country in government to be able to run their own, inference models, and they have secrets. They have secrets, guys. Everybody will have secrets. So starting from the government, going to the organization, and eventually the last element is us, humans. And it's not only us. Eventually we realize, oh, we have a new species here. We see what's happening with the Claude mythos and all of this stuff. Then you start realizing, I'm delegating all of my thoughts, everything in my mobile phone until now, until 2025 probably. And then from 2026, I start understanding that someone is smarter than me. And this is the AI, right? So ideally, everybody would like to have their own model that is running for their own, obligations, activities, everything, your thoughts. And I have a very good theory, by the way, now that we're on the air. I think the AI agentic world is probably the evolution of social networks. For the first time in humanity's time, we are explaining and transferring our thoughts, not only what we want to be exposed. Because this was the previous version, right? Facebook version. At Facebook, you wanted to communicate with your colleague. You said, I will transfer what I want to transfer, but looking to your AI, give me your biggest secrets, right? Everybody is giving more information than they should, and eventually all of this data has to be maintained in a secure manner. That's why I believe it was also knocking the door for me as well to move from cryptography into this combination between cryptography and AI, because we need to protect all of this data. I think it's time to start
talk to us about
MystenLabs.
And you guys recently released Walrus Memory, which is kind of similar in terms of the agent collaboration type thing. Let's double down on that conversation, but in a explaining what kind of Walrus Memory is really.
100%. By the way, MystenLabs is pretty much 5 people who left Facebook. As you can imagine, all of us used to work for a social network. So we're very familiar with how Instagram works, how the blockchain effort of Facebook was, the Libra one. And then eventually we realized that building a blockchain, SWI, was at that time, of course, a faster Ethereum. It was probably one of the most sophisticated cryptographic, let's say, infrastructure that we could have financial transactions, we could have heavy computation and so on. And then we realized a couple of years ago that computation is not enough, right? We had to build something that people are now having big data. People are using their memories across different AIs. So we had to build something different. And this is how Walrus as an infrastructure was actually created. So Walrus, imagine it as a decentralized data platform. And then on top of this, you can build a lot of very useful tools. One of them is the topic of this day, Walrus Memory, right? Which is pretty much a portable layer for AI agents. In my opinion, is just take your agent's memory everywhere in the world. Don't keep it only to your brain. Don't keep it only to your data center. Don't keep it only to Claude. Don't keep it only to Google. Eventually, these companies come and go. Some of them, especially under this geopolitical situation, who knows if they will give you access to your own memory that actually is your memory, right? And then eventually, on top of this, we realize that many people are even on the ethical side, and also this element of agents are amnesiacs. Sometimes you start a new session, sometimes it's biased, sometimes it doesn't remember your memory because you just jumped to the new version of the AI and it doesn't know who you are. And this is exactly what we built. It's we thought of this backwards, and we say everything your agent has learned from you, for your work, for your own preferences, some of your own secrets, is arguably more valuable than your data was ever in the past, including your social footprint of Facebook, Google Times, email, and all of this stuff. So it gives you four things in practice: portability, so you can transfer your data between and memory between different agents. It gives you verifiability. Imagine something that is important. We might end up into a situation where you have to prove that this is my memory footprint, and this was exactly who I am, and you are not biasing your outcome of your deliverable, right? And you also need encryption at the same time and programmability. Encryption, why? because people don't know how to store even a single password. You cannot imagine what I faced at Facebook and Instagram. Like it's very complex. No, I'm not kidding. The benefit of blockchains in the world, it's for the first time everybody has a digital signature. In the past, we only had passwords. I mean, I see people are like checking all of the wallet evolution as, hey, I have my financial data. I believe it's the first step for the first time to also have your own encryption using real cryptography, not 8 digits, not like some very short passwords that might be broken one day and so on. And there, the final element, the fourth one, is programmability. You need to say, look, Claude, you can have access to my work environment. You know, I don't know, local server, you can have access to all of my data. Gemini, you can have access to some other things, and you can also reply to these ideas. So in my opinion, we need all of this, umbrella. And this is why Walrus Memory was built from
super interesting. We have 1 minute left. If you're if I'm a user or I'm listening to ETN right now, like how do I go and use Walrus Memory right now? Like how do I get started?
Yes. By the way, Walrus Memory, if you can just Google on GPT, find it quickly. What's happening is you're having all of your data there. You can define your own rules. You can define how the data is encrypted, and it can work with all of the known like Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, the APIs, and you can transfer your memory from one to the other. The most important stuff is you can also define policies, who has access to what, and how the data is encrypted. And down the road, you realize it's pretty much a new MCP where your data is flowing from one place to the other. So Walrus Memory is pretty much the first decentralized, I'm not aware of anything else, memory layer for portability, right? This is exactly
amazing.
What people
look, we're out of time, but would love to have you back on to kind of deep dive deeper into this. But thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Of course.
Good stuff.
Thank
we'll
you.
see you soon.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Welcoming our next guest onto the show, Aurelien Nolf, the CFO at Navan. Before we welcome him on, let me tell you about Airwallex. Leave our data business banking behind with Airwallex, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business, multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all in one place. Go to airwallex.com. Without further ado, we can welcome our next guest into the show. Welcome to the European Technology Network, sir. How are we?
Hi, how are you? I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Do you maybe want to introduce yourself? And I would say Navan, but everyone already knows what Navan is anyway. So maybe just yourself.
We've had a few guests
background,
on from Navan already.
And yeah, we can get into it.
We love it. Thanks for having me. My name is Aurelien Nolf. I'm the CFO of Navan. I joined the company a couple of months ago. Now it's been 3 months, and it's been an awesome journey. Before that, worked at Lyft, the rideshare company, the pink mustache company. Had a great time there, leading the finance and investor relations team. And even before that, 20 years almost at Electronic Arts, the video game company. So yeah, that's me. I'm in New York this morning, and very excited to be here with you guys.
Let's go, dude. It's so good to have you on. So I think we just jump straight into it. Would love to know more from your end, the Q1 fiscal year, the reports that you guys have put out. I mean, all the numbers are looking pretty strong. Would love to hear it from the horse's mouth. Can you give us like a snapshot or a breakdown? How are things internally? How are things looking?
Yeah, things are looking awesome, right? And you just said it, we had a killer quarter. It was very, very exciting. We grew the bookings on the platform 50% year over year. So amazing growth, amazing momentum. We passed the $3 billion mark for bookings for the first time in the company history in Q1. So very exciting. Revenue was up 40%. And even more exciting, I would say, is our satisfaction score. So we look very, very carefully at how people are using and enjoying the platform. They were very, very good. So we had a CSAT score of 96%. So really, really good. An NPS of 45. So we're very excited. Like there's a lot of momentum. I'm sure we're going to discuss about it, but a lot of momentum and acceleration in our business. Everybody is very excited to be here at Navan.
Let's go. That's so good to hear, man. And I'd love to know, I guess, just sort of What do you think the business travel spending is saying about the economy at the moment? You guys have probably got some good data on this. You're seeing a lot of stuff that other people can't see. Give us your perspective. Is there like a narrative that you're seeing? Is there a certain pattern that you're seeing? What's happening, behind the curtain?
Listen, it's been very strong, right? Like period, very, very strong. A lot of demand, a lot of business travel. Companies are really craving for their team members, to get together, to meet with their customers. Remember, traveling for work is usually something companies do just to generate revenue, right? And we are seeing a lot of momentum there. In fact, we shared a very fun stat, which is on every flight between San Francisco and New York, on average, 6 people booked on Navan, right? So
cool.
that tells you like the scale of our business is growing every day. So yes, we are seeing a lot of demand, a lot of bookings. We just said that there's a lot of momentum in the US as well around the World Cup, for example. Business travel is up 46% to the cities that are hosting World Cup games. So companies are just, moving around, having their people interacting in person, and again, meeting their customers. So we're not seeing any sign of slowdown so far. Yeah, really, really dynamic environment.
I'm curious about from a kind of CFO's perspective, what you think like the agentic space might do to a business like Navan. Like what does it make the operations of Navan like a lot cheaper? Like how are your margins better? What does it look like when the agentic economy is kind of in full force for a business like Navan?
All right, how much time do you have? Because I have a lot to say about it. This is really awesome. So first of all, Navan was built on AI, right? 10 years ago, our co-founders had this vision that technology can really transform business travel. And so at the beginning, it was those large language models. Now it's full AI, and now it's our own model. So what's really incredible to see is that the team, we have a tech team that is very, very forward thinking, and they've been developing our own models. And so in 30% of the cases, we are using models that we've developed internally. And I'm not talking about using frontier models that are leveraging our own data. I'm talking about the entire model being built internally. And so when we do that, the benefit we are seeing is we're using our own data, like think about billions of data points that are really tailored and curated for business travel. And so every interaction with those models becomes faster, it becomes more accurate because it's dedicated to business travel, and it's cheaper, right? And so that's number one. More than 50% of the customer support interaction at Navan are handled by Ava, our chatbot. And what's incredible is because we are calling her Ava, our chatbot, she has the same satisfaction scores than our human agents, right? And so the secret sauce at Navan is really to orchestrate our support between human agents and our AI bots. And so that's what we are doing today. We also announced yesterday a new partnership with Google Gemini. And so now if you're a Gemini enterprise customer and a Navan customer, you can even now use the power of AI to book your trip directly on Gemini. So that's super cool. And then the last thing I would say is we have this new product named Navan Edge, which is your travel assistant in your pocket, and it's fully AI driven. And to your question about agentic AI, Navan Edge is proactively thinking about everything you're going to need on your trip, and it's going to book your hotels, your restaurants, and your flights. So there's lots of use cases, and we are really leveraging AI very intensely here.
Nice. On the model, I know that Anthropic and OpenAI are actually Navan customers as well, which is really cool. So it's quite funny that you guys are building your own internal models as well. But this internal model, it's I think there were claims that it was better for travel than some of the frontier labs. Is this something you guys are really focused on internally? This is a great moat for Navan. We'd love to know a little bit about that. Yeah,
absolutely. It's an awesome, advantage that we have. to get this data set. So first of all, the data set, right? Like 10 years of bookings and support to our travelers, and issues and disruptions, and how did the human agent handle that issue. And so the system has been learning for 10 years, and again, billions of data points a year. So that's awesome and pretty unique. Yeah. And then this ability to create our own model. Clearly, our co-founder Ilan Twig is really like at the edge of the technology. Like, he is really focused on that, and that gives us a real competitive edge for sure.
Mm-hmm. So cool. And how far with that? Like, a question that I think loads of people would love to know, and I think some people have tried to mess around with before, but not really done a good job of it, is like, how far away are we from, I just don't have to do anything. My Navan app can just book me everything I need. There's no real human in the loop. It's just happening autonomously for me. Maybe I tell it via voice.
Or like, you put in your calendar, I want to go to like Greece at this time. Yeah. And we're going to do a company offsite, kind of go and do everything that we need you to do.
Yeah.
So I would say, Navan Edge is almost there already, right? And I highly encourage you to test it. Like, you can sign up online. Like, if you just say, hey, I have this great offsite in London, Navan Edge is going to check your calendar. It's going to look, where is your meeting? It's going to look at how many people are going to be on your dinner or your lunch. It's going to look at, the distance between the airport and your meeting. And it's going to make all those recommendations for you. And the beauty of it is, what is really unique is that you can even book on Navan Edge with a simple click. Like, you connect, all your credit cards are connected, all your mileage plus programs or Delta SkyMile programs are there, and you get all your miles and your points automatically. So I would say we are probably 70% there. Then bridging the gap between 70 and 100%, it's hard for me to give you an exact timeline, but what I can say is 6 months ago, we were not at the 70% mark, and we are seeing very, very fast acceleration in terms of technology and also in terms of user acceptance of the technology. And so I think we're going to keep making a lot of progress, and it's probably faster than people realize.
100%. I wanted to touch on something you mentioned and the partnership that you guys just released with Google. What's the importance of you guys showing up in kind of like LLMs, going forward? Like, where do you see kind of your GTM strategy shifting with showing up in LLMs, or is it kind of like through word of mouth? Like, how important is that partnership for kind of growing the user base?
It's very important to us, but what is really important is that we meet the traveler wherever they are, right? And that's the exact concept of Navan Anywhere, which is wherever you want to book, we will be there for you, and we will provide the technology and the depth of inventory that we have. Navan is connected to millions of lodging properties. We are connected to more than 600 airlines, and so we're going to offer that connection and that infrastructure to you wherever you are. So today is Google Gemini. I'm fairly sure we're gonna expand that to more LLMs in the coming months, and then over time, obviously, to any traveler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. Coming towards the end of the interview, I had a question like connected to, because I know you guys sit on loads of data and you can probably see some really interesting stuff. Like, is there, with what's going on in the world right now, like geopolitically and with the war in the Middle East, does that impact like the metrics on your side? Is there less business travel because of that? Like, does that ever have any, is that something that you guys have to think about internally? Like, where are we at in the world right now? How is this going to affect us? Like, and is there anything that you see on, like, behind the curtain that would suggest it does?
Yeah, obviously we are monitoring this data every day. So far, we're not seeing any impact. What we see when there is a lot of disruptions like that is a lot of cancellation and people rebooking their trip to a later date, right? And so that's something that we've seen a lot on the platform in February and March at the beginning of the Middle East conflict. For example, people were just shifting their plans a little bit, but they are usually rebooking. And that's actually when Navan is here for you, right? And we are always joking internally, like when it rains, Navan shines, right? And that's because of the support we are able to provide you. And so just to give you an example, when we had those huge winter storms on the East Coast in the US. If you were on Navan, we were usually finding another flight for you in 16 minutes, more than 90 minutes if you're working with a competitor. So really here to support our travelers whenever there is anything happening.
Wow, that's really good. That's a really cool stat. I love that. How do you use that like data to kind of, do you obviously you mentioned it just now, but do you use that to go and say, hey, like Navan's product is like super good because we were able to do that, and you use that as a kind of timely way to kind of push out some form of kind of like GTM motion?
100%. That's a very big selling point. Yes.
Yeah.
Really
okay,
cool.
interesting.
Really cool. Look, we're out of time. We'll be welcoming our next guest onto the show, but thank you so much for joining us, and congrats on smashing it. We'd love to have you back whenever you guys are ready.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, guys.
Been a pleasure.
Cheers. Great to meet you. Before we have our next guest on, Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com. Next on the show, we have the Minister for AI and Online
The Minister.
Safety.
He's back. Mr. Kanishka Narayan is back on the European Technology Network. Hello, sir.
Hi, guys. Great to be on.
Yes, it's good to see you again. How are we?
Pretty good. How are you?
Yes, doing very well. Usually we get people to introduce themselves. Probably not needed right now, and we have so much to dig in. There's so many updates to go over. So I'm keen to just jump right in. Straight off the bat, I want to ask about the building beautiful data centers. This was awesome. We loved it, and I would love to know more about it.
Hey, firstly, it's so good to be back, and you guys keep doing amazing things for the ecosystem, and so I want to thank you foremost. But look, on the beautiful data centers, the heart of this was that I feel really passionately, as I think you guys do, that technology is going to be a huge driver of prosperity for our country, that people across the country will have amazing opportunity from it. But I want that opportunity not just to feel economic, but to feel aesthetic. And if you think about the last set of industrial transitions, people built amazing bridges that meant that people could go and get jobs not just in their local town, but the most exciting jobs elsewhere as well. And so that was a functional thing. But the really important thing is those bridges were beautiful as well. And the same applies to train stations. And the same applies to a series of industrial transition infrastructure that Britain built. And so I really want to make sure that in this AI transition, that we're building things that are not just expanding opportunity in terms of jobs and pay, but at the heart of it, building a new aesthetic as well. And so this was a way of saying, let's talk about that. Let's try and raise the cultural salience of it so that when people are making decisions about the types of data centers to build, that they're able to do so in a way that people don't just look at and say, hey, this is a good thing for jobs, but also something they look at and say, I feel proud of this.
Yeah. Cool. We just had the co-founder of MystenLabs on, and he said right at the beginning of his interview, and in the next kind of 5 to 10 years, we're going to have a data center down the street, and everyone will have. Do you think that's a possible future? Is it close as 5 years away?
Yeah, I think more generally, this idea that you can have much more distributed data centers, and ultimately we have innovations, which means that the heat from them can be used for heating in local areas as well. There's a huge amount more to do in this area, I feel, and I feel I don't have a good grip on it in terms of timeline, but 5 feels a very feasible shot at it as well.
100%.
Really cool. There was another huge announcement, the 400 million to UK chip-focused companies. This would be targeted at UK companies based in the UK that were selling chips. Can you maybe just break this down for us? What's the news around this? What's the plan going forward? And also, why was this decided to be released recently?
Super. So let me start with the why first. You guys will know that AI is the primary economic transition right now. It's where a ton of money and investment is going. Most of that investment ends up accruing to chip companies. About, I think, 75% or so in terms of both revenue and margin accrues to companies that are really important in the semiconductor stack. And so it was really critical that Britain was able to capture that value rather than just sending it all to companies in other countries. And that's why we launched this hardware plan. It's just over £1 billion altogether. And a really important part of that was to say, we've got some amazing strengths in chips. You had Herman Hauser on the show recently as well in ARM, and ARM has been a really important part of that story. But we think in the next generation of chips, Britain's got to have a stake in it as well. And we've got some brilliant companies, Fractal, Olix, Salient, Labs, Oriole Networks, broadly in that part of the stack. So 400 million pounds of the overall is going to go on rapid procurement of chips on behalf of the government. We already have a program where we give compute to startups and researchers in Britain, but we want to also make sure that the guys we're purchasing from are British. So one part of that is going to be part of a super rapid procurement called the Advanced Market Commitment, which we'd launched a few months ago, but we're now supersizing that. And then the rest of it is saying, hey, if you guys get the chips in a good place, then we're going to buy up a bunch more. And the reason for that is we want to pull forward your company and help it expand radically faster as a result of being a very quick customer. And so that's what the 400 million is going to go on as part of a big public supercomputer we're going to build. But 400 million of that will buy British chips.
Really cool. Really cool.
You you kind of, obviously a nice segue into the fact that you guys backed Inherent fairly recently, obviously London-based AI lab. Can you talk to us a little bit about, that 50 million pound investment and the Inherent team and how well they're doing?
Yeah. So look, let me back up a little bit. When we came on last time, you talked about James Wise and Sovereign AI and what we were trying to do. And the intent there was basically to say, we think Britain's got the best talent in the world for the next wave of AI, which is new types of models and new types of hardware and new types of scientific discovery. And in that context, we're trying to make sure that all the best companies that are started here stay here when they scale up. And the government is not going to come and compete with venture investors. We just want to be a tiny part of that story so we can pull every other lever, visas, compute, data, whatever else is required to keep companies feel like the best decision for them is to stay here. And so the team at Inherent have been compelling. We've been engaging with them for a long time. We think they've got a really good shot at what is a pretty thoughtful vision on automating the whole process of research in a totally kind of wholesome way they're thinking about every aspect of how they design the company to put automation right at the heart of it as well. And so it was a very compelling vision, and we're here to partner with them as long as they think we can be helpful to make sure that they stay here as well. And it is part of a wave of companies that we're supporting in either direct, explicit or implicit ways. You know that David Silver and his company Ineffable was another that we backed. We've supported the team at Isomorphic with Demis and Max. We supported Colossum, and we're supporting a range of companies more generally through the initiative as well. And so the crux of this is we think we've got the best people, the best companies. We want them to stay here when they grow.
Really cool.
Love it.
It's not a surprise to many that a lot of these companies are actually being built out of King's Cross as well. And I'm not sure what's happened over the last 9 months-ish, it seems, but there seems to be like a real uptick in people setting up HQs there. And a bunch of these kind of... Oh, we lost him. Hello?
If you just...
I think, can we...
We can still hear. Hello?
Maybe if you just rejoin.
He'll rejoin and it'll be fine.
Oh, that was a really good question then. I was
excited
to
roll back, reload it. It's fine.
We're back. Hello, sir. Momentary lapse. Sorry. As I was saying, the King's Cross, I don't know what's happened or what's in the water, but the last 8 months have been, in terms of the news that's being pushed out, it's been a real resurgence. Like we even saw Bezos mention that Prometheus Labs might come over there. We're seeing, like you mentioned, Ineffable, David Silver, like a bunch of these companies are starting to see King's Cross as a real great place to be and go. What's happening on the government end of this? Is it what is probably being noticed, but is there something that we're trying to do around this area or trying to bolster or maybe incentivize people to come to King's Cross a little bit more? Because it seems to it's building up a bit of a network effect, basically.
100%. King's Cross is a really interesting story because I remember, I think about 16 years ago, very early in my career, I remember going there and it was not really an area at all where companies wanted to locate themselves. Yeah. And the government ran a major redevelopment and regeneration program there to say, hey, how can we totally redevelop this area, get some anchor tenants in there. Google were very early in the area as well, and that's a very helpful start. And so what that's ended up doing is effectively the area is totally transformed. And really importantly, it's also made a massive difference to the council, to public services, to people who otherwise wouldn't have been a part of the tech economy to have more fulfilling careers. And so the regeneration effort from government has been very compelling there. Honestly, I think at this point, we don't even need to do anything for King's Cross because King's Cross is taking off.
Flywheel's going, yeah.
Absolutely. And so the thing that we're really trying to do is to say, what are all the other ingredients that will pull so that companies can come here very quickly? And so on visas, for example, we've now got a dedicated AI stream. And as the Chancellor announced this week, we will reimburse fees for top tier companies bringing top tier talent into this country. Similarly, on capital, on every other initiative that government has in terms of compute, on data, we're basically saying whatever it takes is what we will do to make sure that the very best people, the very best companies in AI come to King's Cross, come to the UK more generally. And I think you can tell, yesterday I was speaking to someone who said, hey, we're thinking of moving to King's Cross as well. And I just feel like the sort of talent war at King's Cross in coffee shops is now getting to the place that you get to in Palo Alto, where you kind of overhear investors trying to poach people right, left and center as well. So I feel really excited about what's going on there.
Yeah, I was actually just at the General Intuition kind of launch party for their new London office yesterday, and it was obviously in King's Cross, and we're in King's Cross. We're pretty close. There's definitely some cool things going on. I wanted to touch on while we have you about Fable and the new Anthropic release of the model. You put out a tweet yesterday about how the kind of AI Security Institute is really working on making sure that AI safety is obviously at the forefront and making sure all of these model releases are kind of working in the UK's favor in terms of one, enterprise, but then also safety as well. Can you talk to us? Give us an update. What's your kind of take on everything that's going on in the kind of model scene at the moment?
Yeah, look, it's a really important moment, and
Sure.
Mythos really kicked it off. And the way I think about this is. Effectively, in the AI Security Institute in the UK government, we have been evaluating pretty much every single model way before it is released in the public setting. The first time that a model autonomously completed our entire cyber range end to end. And just to make that even clearer, that the cyber range is supposed to be what a corporate network, any company's usual cybersecurity network, tries to stop. And that model was able to get through that end to end with no human support.
Damn.
Fable has matched and in some ways exceeded that. And so it is a really critical moment. And the main thing I'd say is that the fact that we're able to do this way before release and then through the National Cyber Security Center mitigate the risks for critical national infrastructure is unique. No other country in the world, outside of the United States, where all the companies are, no other country in the world has that capability and that access. And so I feel really proud of it as well. And the broader lesson, by the way, is that, of course, the risks here are huge. The opportunities in AI are huge. What is the best insurance policy when you have something which so much both upside and downside? The best insurance policy is the biggest spread of capability. We have tried to do that in government. We need to do that right across small businesses, medium-sized businesses, because everyone is now exposed to both the upside and the downside. I think I feel really excited about in some ways is that I think we're in a pretty new moment where I hope everyone feels like, historically when people shit on government and say, hey, kind of public sector is clearly not matching up to quality, you actually now have the very best people in this field working in the UK AI Security Institute. And similarly as with Sov AI and this and ARIA, we're trying to build a vision which says, this is the biggest question for our country, economically, security-wise, and as I say, aesthetically, hopefully as well. And in this, what can we do to level up government, to level up small businesses, and to level up every single part of our economy as well? And so the work on Fable has been one illustration of how we can put public and private together and make a difference.
Yeah, really cool. Just coming up to the end of the interview, we have about 3 minutes left. What anything else in the pipeline that people can look forward to from you guys? And you had a tweet that was basically a breakdown of like the UK AI trajectory. You broke down reindustrializing with AI chips, machines that servers, rocket booster for AI jobs, not just theory, investment and jobs today too. Could you maybe just give us a quick sort of breakdown of like what are you trying to communicate here? We don't have to go into too much detail on each individual one, but how is the government thinking about this next stage, this next trajectory?
100%. Look, there are four big things on my mind. The first is AI is an opportunity for us to reindustrialize, to create amazing jobs right across the country, and chips is going to be a big part of that. We've talked about that earlier in the show. Effectively, we're trying to pull a huge number of levers to make sure that we do that. The second part of it, alongside being an industrial giant again, is that we want to make sure that this works for people in ways that touch them outside of just the economy. And so beautiful data centers is one part of that. We want to support companies that are doing adoption of AI that supports human labor rather than just replaces it. It's a choice for all of us, and we want to make that choice a pro-worker adoption choice. We're also launching a bunch of open source initiatives. Open source was an amazing thing in the last wave of software, which led to a ton of bottom-up adoption. We want the UK to be front and center in thinking about open source again. So all of that is basically saying, what are ways of building AI that give agency to each individual right across the country, and to kids growing up in their living rooms, they can just go and now build stuff directly. So that's the second thing, which is machines that serve humans rather than the other way around. The third thing is, we know the biggest crisis in this country is a productivity crisis. And unless our large cap companies, the FTSE guys, are able to adopt AI and drive productivity, we're not going to make a big enough difference. And so we did this big summit with the Chancellor, where we got all the FTSE CEOs with a bunch of our startups and said, it's time for us to kind of move faster on adoption. And the fourth thing in all of this is, I think people can hype up. We talked about narrative and reality being in different places last time. The reality is catching up, and we want to keep emphasizing that. And so the fact of listing out all those investments, we got about, I think, just 5 billion listed in that tweet or so, was to say this isn't in the future, it's now, and it's happening right across every part of the country and economy. And so let's try and really build this conversational sense that this is something that Britain is doing really well on today, and we'll continue to build out the narrative as well. So those are the four things: reindustrializing, machines that serve humans, adoption in our large cap companies, and at the heart of it, a constant sense of progress on a daily basis on investment and jobs.
Cool. Amazing.
Really cool
Kanishka,
stuff.
you're doing amazing work. So,
God's work.
Yeah, we thank you.
Thank you for everything. And obviously, as you know, welcome back anytime.
Excited to be back. Thanks, folks.
Good stuff.
Kanishka, thank
See
you. Cheers.
Before we have our next guest on, Framer, build better sites faster, the all-in-one platform where enterprise teams design, build, and ship production-ready websites. No dev handoff, no bottlenecks, no creative compromises. Go to framer.com/ETN. Next on the show, we have Kenneth, founder and CEO at Opal. He was in the waiting room, and now he's gone.
I'm sure he'll come back in.
Maybe grabbing a coffee.
He'll come back in shortly. This is going to be a crazy conversation, because this is
Opal based in the US.
This is the Opal app. I think he's
cool.
based in New York, I'm pretty sure.
Nice.
But this is the
Opal.
This is the OG. You know, there've been numerous amounts of like follow-on apps that have tried to do this as well. But this is like the OG screen time. Like they have over 500,000 users.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely insane. But it's like the OG screen time app. Hello, Kenneth. How are you, sir?
Very good. How are you? Thanks so much for having me.
No, it's our absolute pleasure. We were just saying how excited we are to have a conversation with you.
Same.
Maybe for the viewers and the listeners at home, it's your first time on the show. So do you want to introduce yourself and what Opal is? And then we can get into a bunch of questions as well.
Sure. My name is Kenneth Schlenker. I'm the co-founder and the CEO of Opal. Opal is the leading screen time app that you can get today on your iPhone, on your Android, or on your Mac. I'm calling here from Paris, but we have a team that's spread between Europe and the US. And yeah, we have some pretty exciting news. So I'm really excited to share it with you guys.
Let's go, dude. Well, mate, do we want to get straight into the news? Let's jump in, man.
Yeah. So we just introduced a completely new version of the app. We just announced that we've reached 1 million daily active users. So we now have 1 million people using the app every single day. And we raised $10 million to fund the next journey of Opal from great partners. And so there's a lot packed into one. But it's a very interesting time. I think I just heard on your show the minister talk about artificial intelligence and how it's changing everything. And I think that, the way I see it, there's really two kinds of people that are going to come out of this artificial intelligence era. One kind are people who are actually really benefiting from it. They're, learning faster, they're working better, they have time to do more things. They have time again to even, spend time with their family and do other things. And that's wonderful. But there's also another kind of people who will be used by it, will be tired, left behind. And we've seen this play out with social media, where a lot of people didn't get a great deal from it. And so I think that there's an extraordinary opportunity to actually make sure most people are in that first group, the people who are actually benefiting from it. The difference between the first and the second group is the ability to pay attention on the things that matter, to be able to use the tool, to be able to use AI in a way that actually benefits people's goals, so they can actually move forward in life, work the way they want to work, be able to have time to do the things that they actually want to do. And we've been working at Opal for now a few years, building a product that actually helps protect people's attention and in a really meaningful way. And I think more and more people today need this kind of help, especially in this new AI world that we live in. And so really excited to introduce the new version of Opal that does that in a great way. So if you get the app today, there'll be a few really interesting things. The first thing is it will work without needing much setup. We've introduced this new feature called autofocus. And the way it works, it's kind of like an agent that protects your attention, that understands your context, and that will just intervene at the right time. So you install Opal, and for example, it's evening time, and you pick up, as one does, you're scrolling in bed. You'll get this notification that actually will tell you, hey, you're scrolling in bed. We've detected this. Let's try something else instead. For example, you can listen to a sound meditation. You can listen to a sound that actually will help you get to sleep. So this is a kind of intervention that just happens in the background without needing much setup. And we really think that these kind of really timely interventions at the right time can really redirect you to make sure that you're doing the things that you're supposed to do in the moment, whether that's working, being present with people. The other thing that we have, in the app is you have this score, which is basically a way to measure your level of attention throughout the day. It uses combined signals from how well you slept last night to how focused you are during the day. Are you picking up your phone regularly, moving between apps, or on the opposite, are you actually focused on one thing for a long time? And then are you actually resting? Are you taking time to recharge? And so we look at these three things to give you a number. It's a little bit like an URA or Whoop score, but actually a score that actually helps measure your attention. We call it Opal score. It's kind of like a weather report for your mind that you can kind of follow throughout the day, understand how you're evolving day after day. And then when you actually want to put your own rules and decide to better structure your day, we also like to do that. So you can do things like, I'm going to set up a bedtime at 10 p.m. and by 10 p.m., my phone goes off and stop. All the apps get blocked. You can also do things like, my work time is 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And at that time, I'm not going to access social media, for example. So you have the control to be able to set up your own rules. And all of this, we see all of this as kind of this operating system for attention, a lot of different tools that you can use personally to make sure you can benefit from technology and not the other way around. Make sure that you're actually in control and using the tools in the in the most powerful way possible.
Yeah,
amazing.
Dude, so cool. Well, firstly, congrats on
all the updates.
I mean, congrats on the raise, congrats on the backers, congrats on the growth. There's so many angles that we can go from here. One for me is I guess more to do with the origins of this thing. I see friends of mine, they come home from work maybe, and their whole evening will be on the phone. It's not that I never do that. I will sometimes do that as well. But it's crazy how much we don't actually notice it. And I feel that it's got even more prominent as time's gone on. You must have called this a few years back when you founded Opal. Can you just tell us a little bit more about the growth trajectory that you guys have been on? Because was there a moment where you were like, oh my God, this thing is flying?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, this started a long time ago. I was actually part of the people who built the problem, because I started my career at Google. I was on the side of building, this kind of great attention hacking machine that many people have contributed building over the last 10, 15 years. So I kind of saw this early, and I wanted to build a solution for this. I think that we got started in 2020, actually just before the pandemic. So it was very early back then. Then the pandemic, of course, really
very perfect timing for you guys.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of people started paying attention to this. People got stuck indoors. A lot more people on screens, and we saw some great stuff like adoption of new technology, but also a lot of bad stuff, including mental health issues and others. So that was the first boost, and then we also were able to get work with Apple to get access to a specific API, Screen Time API, that we're the first to use, that essentially allows us to have access to data on what people are using on their phone, like what apps and websites are using, and also be able to put in place some restrictions. And yeah, recently in the last year, what we've seen is, we more than doubled our DAUs in the last 9 months. What we're seeing is a lot of students, and as early as like high school and university level, college level, and what they're doing is, they figured out that this is kind of like a new literacy, like something you actually have to learn. Like you have to learn counts, you actually have to learn read and write, but you also have to learn how to manage. You have to learn to live with technology. Like there's no way around it. You're not gonna, go live in the woods, and you're not also gonna be, if you're constantly plugged in and constantly scrolling past someone else's life, then you're actually not getting ahead. And so I think the young generations really figure this out, and that's why they're using Opal as a way to be able to learn this kind of lifelong skill. Mm-hmm. So that's been like one thing that really blew up for us.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on the kind of narrative around, and we've talked about it on the show a little bit, around basically people, the shift away from things like alcohol and social media and kind of more into like the health conscious, way of life. Can you talk to us a little bit about, I guess that tailwind for you guys, right? Like I imagine, you mentioned daily active users is doubled in the last 9 months. Like, do you think that's going to accelerate? Like, I think, this narrative is only getting stronger and stronger, right?
Yeah, I mean, the way I think about it is like it's the new diet in a way, right? Everybody in the world will pay attention to what they're consuming on technology because it's become so prevalent in our lives. And so, let's say 10 years ago, people were what am I going to eat today? Like, should I eat? How many fruits and vegetables do I need to eat per day? And today, and in the future, I think it'll really be about what kind of digital technology I'm going to consume. How much am I going to use it? Everything is, more or less good, more or less bad. It's really about the balance that you have to reach on the individual level. And so I think it's really that kind of trend where, today you have 5 billion people with a smartphone in the world. Almost every person that is, teenager and up now owns a smartphone. And it's become this massive thing that everybody has to learn. And so, I see this kind of amazing tailwind where we need to make sure that we are providing the right tools for everybody to be able to use.
Yeah, I hear that. It's fun. Like for me, it would only really I've heard people describe it as like not like an epidemic, but I think the creation of short form media initially kind of spurred on the use of like I guess mobile devices in a way. Like I saw a lot of my friends, a lot of their time was spent on short form media. So is that, do you feel that short form media is the thing that's like driven a bunch of that, or?
It's different, but there's also something that hooks you with talking to a chatbot on particular apps. There's of course using it for work, but people increasingly use it for entertainment and also relationships. And I think that that's going to be something that will start to be another kind of addictive loop as well, that people have to be a bit careful of. There's great things in, of course, using AI tools. There's also stuff that we kind of have to make sure that we're using in the right way.
Yeah. I'm also really interested about how you guys, you mentioned you're going into the next phase, kind of really integrating AI to make sure that, Opal kind of gets in at the kind of like right time, right space. You guys have always been very, very good at, you're sitting where the market is, you kind of you do Instagram ads and all that kind of stuff. And you're very good at kind of getting in at the right time when you're most likely to kind of download the app, right? Can you talk to us about like the dynamic of how AI has allowed you to kind of really, like, I guess, accelerate that, right? Like you're now not having to just use Instagram ads, but then also at the right time, you're getting in using AI to be able to get the buyer when they're ready to buy, essentially.
Yeah. So what we're seeing is, you're right. We do performance marketing, like we do ads, we do Instagram ads, we do, TikTok, we do YouTube.
Super common.
And that's where it's like if you're looking for an alcoholic, walk into a bar. So this is where people are more sensitive to the message, and we're okay with that. I think increasingly what we're seeing a lot of people sharing the app, and we see the social dynamic of it as well. People are talking about it together. We see this in particular with students where there's really they're doing it together. It's like much easier to, let's say, pick up a running habit if your friend does it too, right? It's much easier to go to the gym if you're going with a friend. And so the same thing happens as well with something like Opal, and we see this in particular with students. And then one thing that's been in everything we do across marketing, product development, AI is super important. We're able to build faster, we're able to fix bugs easier, we're able to do better video ads and better video content using AI for sure. But one thing that I'm really excited about is also what's happening with schools. And so we've built a school product that is now essentially the phone policy of many high schools in the US currently. So basically the way it works is instead of taking the phones away from kids, which is what many schools are doing, they have the Opal app installed, and when school starts, all of the apps that they're not supposed to use get blocked, but they can still use, for example, text to be able to text their parents, to be able to have access to a health app, to be able to access to an educational app that their teachers decided they can use. So it's kind of like a way to have a school mode on your phone, much easier for schools to implement because they don't need to kind of carry and take phones away and have to worry about that. And it's also, teaching a lifelong skill to the kid, because they walk home when they leave school, they still have the app, they've actually learned how to use it, so they can put in place their own limits as well and say, okay, I'm going to, bedtime is going to be, 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. I'm going to set that up on my own. And so really encouraged to see that. And it's growing really, really fast right now. We have lots of schools that are signing on, and more that are really interested in joining. And when we enter a school, the interesting thing is, of course, all kids, all students hear about the app, and then their mothers, their sisters, their parents as well. And so it's been a really great way to be able to spread the brand and to be able to grow the company as well.
Maybe there's something there with the UK Prime Minister has mentioned that he's gonna like 16-year-olds won't be able to, it's going to be banned, like social media is going to be banned for 16-year-olds and under. Do you think that that's the right way to go, or do you think it's like teach them how to kind of use use these devices? I mean, maybe we're getting a bit political, but I'm sure you have a take.
I'm happy to talk about it. I think so. First, there's different realities for different ages, right? Like a 12-year-old is very different from a 14-year-old, very different from a 17-year-old. And so you have to be really gradual about this stuff, I think. I think that, bans sometimes are necessary, but they also carry a lot of costs. And so basically when you ban something, typically when you're a teenager, teenagers want to get around it. There's lots of effects that have been studied in history, like prohibition and others, where basically when you ban something, you actually make it better, more powerful, and people do it more. It's also very hard to enforce. So I think, the most powerful thing to do is actually to teach, which is what we really should be doing, with kids, in particular teenagers, to teach them how to do it. Because even if you take it away, the problem is, when they actually reach the time when they can do whatever they want, or they leave school, or they turn 16, then all of a sudden they get access to everything, and then they haven't learned how to use it. And so that kind of like pushes the can down the road to let them actually figure it out. And so I think we need to teach kids the skill. It's like teaching diet. It's like teaching healthy habits. It's something we need to teach. And I think there's a space for some tools to be able to do that. And there's also some kind of pure raw education that the schools system have to give as well.
Super interesting. And again, congrats on all the news. You guys are killing it. We'd love to have an update, when you're ready to come back on. But thanks for
absolutely. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Have a good day.
Have a good one. Before we next guest on, Base, the infrastructure for the on-chain world. Base is built to empower builders, creators, and people everywhere to build apps, grow businesses, create what they love, and earn on-chain. Go to base.org. Next on the show, we have Shah, CEO and founder.
We've got Matt Johnson next.
Oh, is Matt Johnson next?
Yeah, Matt
from
MongoDB, I believe. I think we can bring him into the studio now.
Oh,
Matt, can you hear
my
us?
bad.
I can indeed. Hello, gentlemen.
There we go.
Hello, sir.
it going?
Welcome to the European Technology Network.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Although I am very, very jealous I wasn't sat on that lovely balcony in Monaco with Nico Rosberg and yourself.
We were very fortunate for that to happen. Eternally grateful to our friends at A16Z. But yes, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here. Maybe it's your first time on the show, so maybe an introduction to yourself, and also I'm really keen to understand what is a principal technologist, which is your role. Would love to dig into that a little bit as well.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Matt Johnson, as you said, principal technologist at MongoDB. My history has been on kind of the engineering and operational side of mostly cybersecurity for probably going on 20 years, from cybersecurity vendors to running security teams, running security operation teams across large infrastructures. So I come with a healthy amount of pessimism from that industry, I guess. In terms of principal technologist at MongoDB, you've probably heard of developer relations, or as we now call it within MongoDB, builder relations, because not every developer is a human anymore. But it's the same principle. It's that hands-on kind of engineering, deep product experience at the front. But compared to DevRel, it's more for kind of larger multi-strategic conversations for either an entire business unit or for the whole organization. So we're kind of right at the intersection of product and engineering and kind of a customer strategy, and looking to kind of help them move into this agentic world.
Yeah, really cool, really cool. And what are the customers saying about, like, we spoke to a number of people that work at enterprise companies, and initially it was kind of help us, we need AI, but we don't know what it is. Then it kind of became help us, we've got AI, but it's like kind of broken and we're spending loads of money on it. And now it's kind of becoming like, hey, we're kind of happy with the AI and we're starting to see some good results. Like, what are you hearing? Now they're starting to get
super they know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, which is awesome. But like, what are the conversations you're having with customers? What's like the big thing that they need right now? We'd love to know more.
Yeah, sure. It comes into two main branches, I'd say, from conversations I've had. The first is businesses talking to, especially companies that have decided that there's a specific AI team or like AI enablement team. For a lot of those, it's the company and that team being like, hey, you've spent the money, you've built the team, you've got all these POCs. Where is the agent giving us, beneficial increase in time back, or increase in core volume in production? So that whole like POC is great, but like, how do we productionize this? Where's the guardrails? How do we give it more intelligence so it doesn't keep repeating itself or getting stuck in kind of loops? And that kind of comes to things that aren't in the model. So that kind of comes to your agentic memory layer and kind of how it's calling tools and how it's accessing data, regardless of the amazing models we have now. Like, that is the piece that kind of makes or breaks agentic from what we're seeing. And then the other side of that is actually around cost. Like, yes, this is all working, but maybe using the best, latest and greatest model and piling 1 million tokens into the input window for every agent request, even if it's just, hi, yes, my account number is this. Please, can you help me with XYZ? Cost management, that kind of FinOps side of AI, like we've seen across Kubernetes, like we've seen across cloud, is becoming a really big conversation, because one developer proving a POC, great. When you then have 1 million consistent users, very different.
Yeah, I think that was one thing I really wanted to talk to you about, was the kind of shift away from like the subscription-based thing to kind of more usage-based. And I'm sure you have like a take on where this is all kind of going. I think that there's some takes where Fable is the last model that is going to run this kind of subscription-based thing, and eventually it's just going to become, usage, and however much you use, that's what you pay for. Can you, I'm sure you have a take, talk to us about that.
Yeah, I do. It was funny watching everyone trying from Anthropic, Fable 5, the Mythos model yesterday. We were all kind of internally guessing what would be happening. What was actually happening was people trying it on their max plans and kind of getting one prompt in before they'd they used their current usage. So as you said, that's going to be a wake up call for people, I think. Yeah, it's the model thing is interesting, and I actually think whether or not individual devs, whether or not people interested in AI are used to kind of paying per token, when you look at kind of running it in production, when you look at using API access to any of these model providers, or you're looking at Bedrock, realistically, like that's the usage model enterprises are already in, whether or not, we all get to play with our Claude subscriptions. So it's a good conversation for people to realize around, agent input output has a cost. And I think it's probably the only valid way to bill it. What we're going to start seeing is more intelligent agents that don't have to use the frontier models for everything. Sure. We're probably going to start seeing routing and an escalation to different agents depending on complexity of the request. Yeah. And again, from kind of our perspective, like where we see MongoDB fitting, things like agentic memory, right? So for those not familiar, the idea of kind of recording the outputs, recording the inputs for every conversation an agent has, and kind of storing that in a way that you can do a vector search just like you would with RAG. Yeah. So that we can make sure that, let's say a user's asking a question they already asked, say, 10 request responses ago, be it human or be it computer to computer, we can pull out just the parts of the memory that actually matter from that request for the next call, rather than just piling the entire agent conversational history into that context, costing the model owner, a lot of money per request. So we can keep those request response loops really concise by having really good lookup based on vector search and kind of keeping that as a closed loop.
Yeah. I think it's like an interesting one where, like, if I'm using Claude, for example, I would be, maybe 10 weeks ago I asked a question and had a conversation with it, and maybe I'm having a similar conversation, but I want to pull something from 10 weeks ago. Sometimes it doesn't, it kind of gives me the whole thing, or it doesn't even remember that we had the conversation, because I've had so many more conversations in that 10 week window, right? So it's like, that model layer, that memory layer is really, really important for, I think, especially from the consumer side. I don't know in terms of enterprise, but yeah, you're right. It's very interesting.
And enterprises then have, sorry, go for it.
No, please.
Enterprises have even kind of more complexity on the memory side, because then you need to be making sure that, say, you're a multi-tenanted system, you're not allowing memories to mix across conversations or across customer boundaries. The model itself doesn't care. The model will spit back whatever MCP or agents or tools it has access to. Extra complexities there for sure.
Interesting. It seems like a lot of the conversations around Mythos, around Fable, have been centered. And I was saying earlier, it was the first time we'd really seen this properly with a model release. But a lot of the conversations are around data security, cyber security, and I think in part that is due to the way in which Anthropic released Mythos initially, which people say, was it a marketing stunt? I don't know. No one really knows. But what, from your perspective, you mentioned you do cover data and security to an element as well. How is the community reacting to this release? Are people? Is it are they actually now walking the talk, or is it still we're not sure?
Funnily, I had a conversation with a customer on exactly this topic yesterday. So I've recently felt firsthand how this went. There's a mixture of fear, right? Obviously number of CVEs have doubled from 2023 to 2026 to date, in part to AI finding those. But equally, the kind of non-Mythos models were more than capable of finding vulnerabilities a lot quicker than a single human. So the problem is almost already here, whether or not Mythos is gated or not. The advice I give is the things we're already doing in cybersecurity don't go away just because AI is here. That idea of least privilege, that idea of setting up your infrastructure to not allow communication kind of east to west across things that don't need to talk to each other, like responding to logs and alerts for indication of compromise, containment of your individual agents, individual tools, so they can't, so that you're not giving an attacker a jumping off point. All those kind of things that are kind of bread and butter in security still apply. And then the big change we're seeing, again, MongoDB angle, but a big change we're seeing, which is actually why I'm at MongoDB now, is we used to have a layer of code, our business logic, ahead of our database, right? And that was deterministic. We wrote that ourselves. We could put guardrails into that, and we knew that that would always sit there in front of our data. Now, kind of agents have direct access to data, and therefore non-deterministic tools have direct access to that database. So actually the control plane almost for security shifts back into that data layer. How do we make sure no matter what happens to our agents that we don't leak protected data across customer boundaries, personal identifiable information for things like GDPR. All of that is suddenly a problem that we used to deal with in the application layer, and more we have to deal with and kind of protect ourselves at the data layer.
That's interesting. And it seems like some of the conversations we're having specifically around people that come from the space have said, in a weird way, it's actually a really good thing because it's kind of educated people broadly. And it's made, like you said it then, like the models were already capable of finding vulnerabilities. It just hadn't been marketed that well. But now It's kind of like, it's worked as both like, okay, yes, it's brought a lot of attention to that space, which I guess, I mean, you could argue, is that good or bad? Because then you'd have bad actors flooding in as well, but also people becoming more prepared and increasing their opportunity to defend against it, I guess.
It's definitely brought the security conversation back into the boardroom, which I think is a positive thing for security spending and posture of companies regardless. So yeah, I'd say it's a good thing. I'd say it's highlighting something that people were doing anyway. And so it's good to have that kind of more global visibility.
Really cool. Matt, we are at time. Thank you so much for joining us for the first time. We'd love to have you back on again whenever you're free in future. It's been really fun.
It's been a pleasure. Loving the content, guys, and keep up the good work.
Legend.
Appreciate
Cheers,
it.
dude. Have a good
Thanks.
one.
Great to meet you.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff. Before we have the next guest on, MetaView AI agents for winning teams, the agentic recruiting platform built for radically efficient hiring end to end. Source, engage, and hire better with agents that truly get your brief. Go to metaview.ai. Now we have Shah on the show.
Coming into the show. How are you, sir?
Hey guys. How are you?
We're doing very
We're
well.
very good.
Welcome to the European Technology Network. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
It's good to
So
have
let me
you.
know.
Yeah. Well, look, for the viewers and the listeners at home, first time on the show, do you want to introduce yourself? Who are you? What is your role? And what is Noah as well?
So I'm Shah. I'm the founder of Noah.com. So we are what we call a stablecoin infrastructure company. So you can imagine what we really do is stablecoin has many benefits, and we will get to that shortly. But what we really do is we abstract away from the complexity to actually reap those benefits for our customers. There are stablecoins have many benefits. One of them is you can move money at the speed of internet and at almost no cost. So we abstract away from all the compliance, legal, liquidity management, tech integration, so that at the end, the customer is really moving $1 and getting, let's say, Nigerian naira, or moving $1 getting pounds, and not worrying about what's behind the scene.
Really cool. And can you walk us through the journey as to founding this thing? Like, how long have you been operating? What was the, why was it you that had to do this? We'd love to dig into more about like the founding journey here.
Yeah, so I started this company 5 years ago. I really wanted to do something that would change the world for the better. I thought that the last 50 years we have seen a lot of innovation in the internet side, like hardware technology, like iPhones and mobile phones, but we have not seen much innovation with money. Money still moves the same way it does like a long time ago, and I just found that's quite interesting, right? And on top of that, I found that for us, it might work, but a lot of the people who are losing out of that is people in emerging markets who have inflation, in north of like 30% and losing value every day, and they have no access to the same means we have. And that made me kind of very excited about this, and that's why I also called it Noah, because we're really building Noah's Ark to save everyone from the inflation flood.
That's so cool. I didn't realize that was that was why it's called that.
Yeah.
Talk to us about let's jump into some stablecoin chat and stuff. I wanted to ask, you're trying to make money move as kind of freely as what, like information.
Correct.
How do you go about doing that? Like, you've been working on this for 5 years. What does that look like, and kind of how far are we away from that, I guess, future?
Yeah, so it's a very complex topic, right? So I want to try to break it down in one. I'm making an analogy to you guys because I think the audience will be able to relate to that, and then I will kind of make a few. So the analogy I would make is, imagine how it happened with telephone over the internet. Before we were able to talk like this, if you wanted to make a phone call, let's say from Brazil to India, believe it or not, the telecom company in Brazil would take your, let's say, information packet, relay that to AT&T in US. AT&T in US would relay that to British Telecom, and then British Telecom would maybe send that to India. And along the way, everyone would take a toll. So that's exactly how it's happening with corresponding banking system right now. So if you want to make it international payment, all these banks are kind of like going through these hoops, and they're charging these fees, and then it also takes like 3 to 5 days. And now, similar to internet over telephone, phone, you are able to just leave that system out and just go direct. And that is, the improvement you will see. And the way I would see how we're solving this is stablecoin is kind of the, let's say, the CIP protocol, right? We are able to move the dollar. But not only because the Swift is really a messaging protocol, right? So it messages someone and says, John has that much money, please deduct it, and the settlement happens maybe a week later. Mm-hmm. But in this case of stablecoin, you're actually making the messaging, but as also the settlement at the same time, in the same second, 24/7, even Saturday, Sunday, whatever. If it's the middle of the war, no one cares. So I think that's one. And then now connect that with the instant payment method we have everywhere in the world. We have SEPA, we have faster payments in the UK, we have PIX in Brazil. Now we can move money freely and in seconds. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's super interesting.
Great analogy.
For our end, and we've had a few people on the show discussing sometimes some similar stuff, but it seems that technologically the theory or the process is it works, and it works incredibly well, much better than the traditional system that we've had for I guess thousands of years in many ways. But where are we at with institutional adoption? I remember it's been an uphill battle for Coinbase, for example, when they started out. I remember listening to Brian Johnson say how hard it was, because they were always kind of rooting for him to lose anyway. Where are you? How is it globally right now with institutional adoption? I feel like tides turned over the last year and a half. Yeah, where they're a lot more open to it. But would love to hear from you.
So just want to, when I made a bet on stablecoin, because there are two ways of solving it. Either there were some people saying it's going to be all on Bitcoin, because that's open protocol. Yeah. But I said that's not going to happen, because the US will at some point realize that these stablecoin issuers, sooner or later, are the biggest buyers of debt. So stablecoin market cap 2020 was 5 billion. Today is 330 billion. Just putting some numbers in perspective. Wow. That means they're buying more treasury debt, treasury bills, more than Germany, South Korea, and UAE together, right? And by the way, Citi's prediction is going to go to 4 trillion by 2030. So the US has kind of had the step change. This is going to be the biggest exporter of US dollar. We have inflation issues, so we have to keep selling that dollar to the world. And the best distribution is going through the digital asset rails. So I think that step change came with the Trump administration. And since then, we have seen massive surge of institutional adoption, because they feel more safe. There's laws, there's regulation, and also there's a positive signal from the US regulatory bodies on all aspects. So I think that's been the main driver of institutional adoption.
Yeah. How do you think a continent like Europe can, I guess, become more open to it? Do you think it requires some sort of pretty abrupt political change in direction, or is it just is it a slow thing that institution led? How can we catch up?
the Europe problem in regulation is always around. They have this fear of consumer protection, right? So they're like, what if one day a consumer loses $5, right? So that's like how they kind of design all the regulation. It's really like that. It's just a reality, right? It's a very strong consumer protection culture. Whereas in the US, it's more like, how do we stay dominant? How do we stay number one? How do we ensure dollar hegemony? And I think that has to happen. I think maybe if the European ECB or come under more pressure, realizing it's growing, they actually might change their approach. But right now, it has not signaled that yet. So maybe another few years, let's see what happens.
Yeah, really cool.
So cool.
I remember a while back we spoke to the CRO of EMEA over at Stripe, and this was around the time where they were getting quite excited to announce their like agentic economy products that are surrounded by agent-to-agent payments, and like stablecoins would essentially be like the infra that whole thing would potentially run on. Is this something that you've looked at internally? Is it something that you're keeping your eye on, like this new agentic economy? And if so, like anything you're excited about it?
Yeah, so we are going to make an announcement with one of the largest agentic payments company, which hopefully in a month, I think everyone will be excited. But it's actually the strongest team that you can find there. But in short, agents the only way for them to manage money will be through smart wallets. Like they're not going to be like, they're going to use the API of JP Morgan, and JP Morgan will be like, they're going to use a set of like public-private key or like a smart wallet. And then what they're going to do is like, they're going to settle with our APIs, the stablecoin, and then we will then route to, let's say, any payment you want to do. Let's say you want to pay to mobile money in Africa, that's fine. If you want to pay to Gcash in Philippines, that's fine. So that's why we become more relevant for these solutions, because at the end, the agents need smart wallets. That's the only way they can actually manage money efficiently. And then you have these, the agents will also have a policy engine, which then again manages the public-private key crypto side. So
Right. So then what happens about that? There hasn't been this kind of like, fundamental shift in how money is moving for years and years and years. And what happens to kind of, slower moving, but global, institutional banks when money is being moved, I guess, out of those banks into kind of smart wallets? Like how does that work? Do they have to shift like their whole kind of, do they have to add onto their business infrastructure, or do they have to just completely shift away from how they've been working before and then moving onto kind of like smart wallets and stable coins?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. People always have this view of like one thing will eat the other, but it's actually going to be like, it's going to lift everyone. But of course, some people more. But I would imagine the same thing with telecom industry, right? So there was this fear that with internet, we don't need them, but actually a lot of them actually they repositioned themselves as kind of like internet enablers. They were selling like fiber optics. Yeah. So I would say a lot of the smart banks will start becoming part of the stablecoin network. They will settle themselves interbank with stablecoins. So I think the price will go to the ones who move the fastest. We see a lot of banks. I mean, you were surprised in the US, state banks that are super ancient, who've been struggling, and they see in stablecoin as a way to move faster than JP Morgan or Citi. That's for them finally the way to get a bit of ahead, because they kind of lost the fintech wave. Yeah.
I remember like ages ago, was it JP Morgan that released their own coin? Like I swear, they were quite an early adopter.
It's called Onyx.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, let me explain what that is, because we have a number of use cases for stablecoins, right? I mean, I didn't walk you guys through it, but just like quickly, like payroll, cross-border payments, dollar access to the world. And one of the other one that is quite exciting is that you have to imagine you're JP Morgan and you have so many entities. And then you have to account for where your money is. Like imagine like all this reconciliation is such a nightmare. Reconciliation only exists, that term, because banks settle a week later. So you have to say, okay, the money is sent, but it's going to arrive here. Now they're running their whole backend on stablecoin. And that is just imagine it just moves in seconds, right? There is no need for reconciliation. So imagine JP Morgan US owes JP Morgan UK. They don't do this credit debit thing anymore. It's just like moves, So that's why they started. And that's not going to be only exclusive JP Morgan. There's a lot of banks doing this now, even Revolut. I know they're working on something there. It's quite exciting. So a lot of fintechs, a lot of will be using that as a better way of managing their backend.
Yeah. You kind of keep touching on on the fact that, you know, like the infrastructure of the business of Noah is the fact that you guys are operating globally, and you have all of these different kind of players in the game globally, with all of their kind of, you know, each country is obviously very culturally different, and therefore kind of use a kind of a culture similar to the actual culture of the country and all of this kind of stuff. How do you guys manage building globally, right? You're only, you know, 5 years old. Like how do you manage kind of globally all of these different cultures, the regulation? Like how is that a huge challenge for you? Like what does that actually look like?
Yes, so it's extremely complex, but that's why we were excited about it, because we always wanted to do something that is complex, because that's the best defense, right? That's where you add the most value to people. Yeah. And it's not because I wanted to be global. I mean, I'm very ambitious. I mean, not gonna lie, but of course, the problem is it's the same thing with what Adyen and Stripe went through. Yeah, they started by selling to internet companies, and they're all global, right? So what we are selling to is a lot of these like fintechs or neobanks that are actually going global with stablecoin backend on day one, and they all have global needs. So we have to figure it out for them, because they don't want a local solution. And it was a massive challenge. It's a regulatory challenge, it's a compliance challenge. It's a lot of like learning because you have much more fraud in some of these markets. Yeah. And you have to manage that, because, you know, the reason you have fraud is also there is no policing. Like if someone does something in that country, like how do I get hold of this guy? In Europe, it works really well. In the US, so people are kind of held in check. So I would say these are all challenges that we were excited about, because we knew that no one wanted to go through the pain that we wanted to go to actually abstract this away and actually then add value to our customers.
Yeah, nice.
That's really cool. I have another question that we noticed when we were prepping, like Joe Lonsdale is on your cap table as well.
Correct.
How did that connection come about? Is this just, you know, payments background? He saw what you were doing, really liked it. Would love to know. How did you guys get chatting?
So, you know, I added a co-founder later down the road, and he was on the founding team of Adyen. And he obviously knew Joe from back in the days. I mean, as you can imagine, Adyen is like a huge success, right? So we always try to learn a lot from them. They've done it really well. They are one of the best payment companies in the world. And I think, you know, when he heard that we're doing this now together, he was super excited, because you don't have to think twice. You just see like the same story, hopefully bigger. So yeah, I think if I was Joe, I would also invest. So
nice. That's a good way to put it.
We're coming to the end of the interview. I guess Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, you're probably going to ask the same thing. What are you excited about? Yeah. What does the next kind of 6 months look like for Noah? We're kind of halfway through the year. Yeah, what can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, the exciting thing is, like, you know, you have to imagine 5 years ago, this whole thing was a dream. Like, so that's what I mean. I named this company day one Noah.com, right? So it was a bit of a dream, but it's really happening extremely fast. Just giving you some information here is, you know, we are really like enabling everyone in the world now to have access to dollars, right? And it's happening at rapid pace. I mean, no one can stop this. And this is going to let everyone have a net positive life, because they have like, okay, people in the world are not poor because they don't work hard. It's because they work hard and their saving goes into a currency that loses value. Besides currency, they don't even have a stock market. Like it's nothing. So it's like, what do you do? Like sometimes they actually go and get real cash, like real dollar notes, put it under the pillow, and not great. So once the stablecoin infrastructure is laid out, which is happening real time and accelerating space, and we are part of it, we're one of the leading companies here, nothing stops us to sell like tokenized bonds. Like imagine, like I'm talking about the AAA Coca-Cola 10% yield. The impact there is huge. Of course, for us it's like exciting, but for them it's like, wow, I can actually build wealth. Like it never existed there. So not only for consumers, but also businesses. A lot of the greatest emerging businesses in emerging markets are coming from Brazil and all these markets. So I think that really is so exciting to us, because we just see how we are impacting people's life for the better. And this has just like a lot of like meaning, you know, to what we're doing. And it's great to see that, you know, the original vision is actually coming to fruition, even if it took longer than I expected, but it's really happening and happening at a rapid pace.
Yeah. That's super fun.
That's really sick.
Are you guys, just quick one, are you guys kind of leaning more heavily towards those markets, the emerging markets, before the kind of the more developed markets? Is that kind of the play, or is it kind of both at the same time?
Both at the same time. As you can imagine, developed markets have a huge market cap, but of course, if you have a small percentage. But then also emerging market has much more adoption at a rapid pace and higher margins.
I imagine you guys can dominate quite quickly in emerging markets and then kind of filter into more developed markets. But if you're doing,
but even tier 2 countries, like I'm talking about Brazil, like not like necessarily like very remote, but like I'm talking even like like actually quite developed markets that I just haven't because the corresponding banking system has been really choking the distribution of dollars, right? Like you have to imagine if you're like sitting in Brazil, you have to go to a bank branch to then hope that the bank has a corresponding bank with JP Morgan, and then things might move for you, right? But now we can give you dollar access, dollar accounts, euro accounts on your phone. And you can make payments, you can actually store it and get yield, anything you want, and soon bonds and stocks. I think that's quite exciting.
Yeah, agree.
That's really cool, dude. Thank you for coming on. This has been super fun. Keep us posted.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and hopefully see you guys in person.
Yeah, for sure.
Indeed.
Dude, for sure.
Good stuff. Great to meet you, man.
Cheers, man. Have a good one.
Awesome stuff. That was super
really cool.
ElevenLabs, leave our data business banking behind with ElevenLabs, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business. Multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all in one platform. Go to ElevenLabs.com.
Love to hear that.
We have 10 minutes before we have our final guest on the show. So let's go through some
I want to get
stuff.
the where is it? The Mistral.
Yes. So there was an article released about Mistral on Forbes.
Mistral it up a little bit.
It was either today. Yeah, nice one. It was either today or yesterday. I can't remember.
You say nice one for one Mistral it up.
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah.
That was all right.
No, not really.
It comes off the back of our Macron edit as well. So
yes, nicely. Well timed from us.
Perfectly timed.
How France's Mistral built a $14 billion AI empire by not being American.
This is first time I'm looking at this, by the way. This
Very
is my
ETN.
fresh eyes.
I read this.
On this whole thing.
Paris-based Mistral wanted to develop a top-tier AI model to rival OpenAI and Anthropic. That didn't work out. But it turns out lots of folks don't care if the AI is bleeding edge, as long as it wasn't made in America or China. When Arthur Mensk, the co-founder and CEO of Mistral, France's leading AI company, takes the stage at the AI Action Summit at the center of New Delhi, India in February, he draws only a small crowd. Nearly everyone would rather listen to sermons from OpenAI's Sam Altman or Anthropic's Dario Amodei, preaching the promises and perils of super intelligent AIs.
Did you see the photos of that?
Small... No, wait, what?
Of that, I remember seeing photos on X of that, of the crowd at the AI Action Summit.
And it was tiny.
They went, and it was so big. Yeah, it was really small.
I kind of do remember.
Which was, maybe sad a little bit, but carry on.
Yeah. Okay. But the small cadre of executives and researchers in Mensch's audience catch a very different message. The rest of the world should control its own AI destiny, not Silicon Valley, and Mensch can help them do that. AI should be a tool for empowerment and not dominance, he proclaims. He said, it kind of is summed up in one word, which is independence. Unlike the black box Silicon Valley rivals, most of Mistral's AI models are all techies, what all techies call the open weight. In this sort of open source model, customers are free to get under the hood, customize the AI using their own data, and download it for free to run offline or from a laptop. Which is obviously famous for Mistral. Obviously, they're an open source model building out of France, and they kind of they're leaning into the narrative in Europe of building your own kind of infrastructure. Everything going on in Germany, of course, that's happening with ripping out kind of Zoom and putting in your own things for businesses. How businesses are running? Are they running on kind of local technology and infrastructure? And are we burning our own compute? Are we buying everything else from the US or China? So Arthur's really kind of obviously leaning very, very heavily into that kind of narrative.
This is by our boy at Forbes as well. It's by Ian.
Is it?
Yeah.
No way.
That. Shout out to Ian from Forbes. So he is a poster child, not Ian, Arthur, a poster child for European tech sovereignty, right? Which I think as
hence why he is leaning very heavily into this. Yeah.
Which is why which is super fair and great. The more we discuss it though, the more it's hard because there's like a conflict between, yes, you should be like sovereign and care about like your nation's position globally, 100%. But also there's also an element of like, you know, the conversations that I have a lot are around like, not the ship has sailed in some elements of.
You want to streamline stuff, right? And you want to move quickly. You also want sovereign, kind of like sovereign technology. So it's kind of
like when I hear sovereign technology, I think worse technology.
Yes, exactly. It says it here, right? European firms are especially interested in Mistral at a time when a German state government is scrapping Microsoft Office for official business, and France is rolling out its own alternative to Zoom for video calls. There's an opportunity for Mensch to swoop in with the promise of secure and proudly European-built AI. And so, like, I agree. There's tension there where it's like, look, you're using sovereign, kind of local AI and infrastructure, but you're also going to move slower. So the gap is going to widen. And there's that balance to make, but I think I don't know if there is that balance to it. You either kind of choose one and slow down, or you choose the other and you stay at the correct speeds, but you're using someone else's.
It's like quite a mental equation. Do you know what I mean? It's like, do you want things to get better and go quicker, or do you want to slow down? But don't worry, you can tell everyone that you're on local tech. Maybe for maybe government backed / I don't know, the general like government institutes. Maybe there's like a security element there where they literally aren't allowed to be at the whim of an American light switch, in the sense where you can just like pop, turn it off, turn it on. Like obviously that would never really happen. It's hyperbolic, but that I guess is the fear of, okay, we don't want to be on a Chinese model, we don't want to be on a US model, based off the way our not business, but based off the way like our government or our institution or this house has like very secure data. We have to be on homegrown infrastructure.
Yeah,
I understand that side of things. Broadly speaking, to be fair,
it sounds like you don't.
Kind of, but then if there's an openness to a security risk, then yeah, fair. But I also think like if that ever leaked, that one of these OpenAI, Anthropic, DeepSeek, whatever it is, were to, I don't know, like cross a line and exploit a certain part of technology or government operations or whatever it was in Europe, then like surely everyone would be like, oh, okay, well that's now, like we will never work with you guys because you're obviously taking advantage of our data or whatever.
Yeah, but are they going to do that? One, how realistic is that?
Right. So like, how realistic is it that we prepare for that? Is what I'm saying. If they would never do that, then why should what are the prices? What price are you paying for preparation at that point, right? Like the price you're paying is slowing down and being worse. The price you're paying is operating on Mistral and not OpenAI.
Yes.
So like, I don't know.
Well, inherently, it is like just naturally, it's going to be slower and potentially worse because there's just not as much money being flown into building infrastructure to understand the to kind of supply the demand that's needed.
Yeah.
Unless like Mistral is in this bubble of just catering to Europe. That's
France,
a place.
I think we can make the bubble smaller.
Okay, let's make the bubble smaller. But like that's the demand that they have to deal with.
Yeah.
So like they don't need to go and spend hundreds of billions of dollars or euros in this case in compute and infrastructure, because they don't need that. They don't need to supply that much compute to a smaller bubble.
Yeah.
See what I mean? And it just kind of sits there. But then again, competition reaps.
I just think there'll come a point where
models, better times, better.
It's like the only customers will be like, we don't want to use that because it's not from Europe, which I think like that TAM is incredibly small.
Yeah,
and will get smaller as the other models get better.
I agree. Anyway, I think we have our final guest on the show. Alex, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Awesome, dude. How are you? Welcome to the show. It's good to have you on.
I'm doing very good. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, awesome,
good.
man. Awesome. Welcome to the European Technology Network. Usually we ask guests to just introduce themselves, what the role is, what the focus is right now, where they're working, and then we can get into it from there.
Sure. I'm Alex Petropoulos. I'm the Chief of Staff at ARC Foundation, which is a think tank based in Brussels with a mission of helping Europe prepare for transformative AI. But I'm also a co-author of an essay, a scenario that just went live today called Europe 2031, which is an essay sort of in the style of situational awareness or AI 2027, if you've read one of those, that wants to sort of wake up Europe to what we think is a big problem it's sleepwalking towards.
Amazing. And look, give us the summary of the article. I think that's obviously like why we wanted you on the show. And yeah, just give us a rundown of everything that we need to know and the listeners need to know.
And congrats for getting it out as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was much more work than we initially thought it would take when we first started. You have that idea and you're like, oh, this is easy, right? So the scenario builds on three main assumptions. The assumption one is like Europe has woefully miscalibrated on how fast AI is going to progress in capabilities. It's miscalibrated on how important the technology will eventually be. And then lastly, it's miscalibrated on how well placed it is to actually fare the technology and the ways that it will transform society. And we think then in a combination of these three factors, and if we sort of continue on our present path, the scenario lays out a world where a plausible set of events that lead to Europe sort of facing a choice between being a vassal almost of either the US or of China.
Mm-hmm. It's so literally connected to what we were just discussing now a little bit, but this idea of tech sovereignty, and I know that Judith is I'm pretty sure she's a co-author of the piece as well. Mm-hmm. We interviewed her in Athens the other week, and it does seem there's an element here that people are wondering, like, are we a little bit too late, or like, can we catch up? And we've just had the Minister of AI on Kanishka earlier. And I have felt like, some amazing initiatives are coming out of the UK. I guess when we speak about Europe more broadly, like I'd be curious to understand what you see, I guess, on the continent as a whole. Have things changing over the last 6 months at all, or is it still just a little bit asleep at the wheel?
The thing I like to tell people is there has never been a better time to try and get Europe back on track. So even though it might be so over, we're as close as possible to being so back. That being said, I think that it's really close to calibrate on. It's important to calibrate on what we can compete on. And so, Europe released this like tech sovereignty package yesterday, and in it they sort of lean really hard on open source and sort of say this is how we're going to be relevant. It's important that Europe competes where it can, and so I think that what really matters if Europe cares about frontier AI access that these open models might not provide. Mm-hmm. It needs to build up leverage. And to build up that leverage, it needs to do a few things we lay out, but in particular, it needs to build a lot of compute in many places. It needs to get really good at semiconductors. It needs to help ASML grow like 5 times bigger than it could. Currently, ASML wants to grow, but it can't expand in the Netherlands because the grid is oversupplied and they don't have enough housing. It's like one of the most important companies in the world, and houses are stopping it from growing.
That's insane. I didn't know that.
Can we go through the scenarios, right? So like, what are the differences between the kind of worst looking scenario and the kind of best scenario for Europe? And like, give us the differences, and then it's kind of like, it's nice to see like an overall picture.
So the scenario sort of hinges around this compute crunch that we predict, where you're sort of running into like the stakes get higher, and the US is sort of in a situation where it's serving some inference to Europe, and it basically decides at a certain point, our priorities are higher than your priorities, and we will cut access to inference, or we will give you really bad deals because we are in what they perceive as a race with China, a sort of all stakes, higher stakes situation. And so Europe sort of is left to the sides without really any agency over how to decide its future. And I think if we pull everything together and if we push in the right direction, I'm not saying that we're going to win the AI race. I don't think there's anything we can ever do, but we at least maintain optionality in how we want to play our cards. We maintain optionality in what side, what we want the transition to look like. And, maybe if you decide that you want to work with the US, you won't have ability to have your say about option 1 and option 2, but maybe on option 3 or issue 3, you'll be able to say, actually, this value is really important for us, and we'd like you to change this. So in a sense, it's about giving Europeans the ability to exercise what they think is important.
Yeah, interesting. And like, for Europe, where is that area of focus, do you think? Right, we mentioned that you mentioned frontier AI on like the model side. Maybe it would be quite hard for us to spin something up pretty quick. But is there another area where you think that we can fit in nicely and I guess hold some leverage for the future?
Yeah, so I find a useful framing when thinking about leverage is leverage. You have different types of leverage. You have leverage that might be quite important in the next 2 years, leverage that might be more important in 3 to 4 years, maybe in 10 years. And then you have like leading and lagging leverage so that the US can turn off all of Europe's F-35 fighters at an instant. If we switched off ASML machines, that would have quite a lagging effect. So you want to build up this portfolio of leverage options. So some countries will want to build compute. Other countries might want to specialize and say, actually, robotics is going to be really big. I want to place myself really well so that we can champion, we can be the best people who are building next-gen robotics or adopting really well. Maybe a European country say, actually, photonics, that's going to be the next big thing. I want to crack that. Maybe someone will be like, I'm taking a big bet on fusion. You sort of build up this sort of arsenal, this collection of leverage into a coalition of possible middle powers. Maybe you throw in the UK, you throw in Canada, you throw in Japan and South Korea. And what you get is you get a leverage pool that's robust across the future and across different timelines. Each individual country, it's up to them to decide, this is my comparative advantage. This is where I can become important. And I think importance is the real takeaway for all of us. It's like,
100%.
How can I be important on AI?
Yeah, that's a really cool framework, basically. And what like I guess like message to the people. What are you and the other co-authors trying to do here? Like, is it to wake people up? Is it get people to take action? Is it to, get noticed by certain individuals, certain labs, certain people in government? Like, what is the overarching aim?
I mean, like Emmanuel Macron, if you're listening.
He does. He's a frequent listener. He told me yesterday.
I think that the real takeaway we want is make trade-offs. You have to understand the stakes, and then you have to be willing to make some trade-offs. And some of those trade-offs might be letting American hyperscalers build compute in Europe. Some of those trade-offs might be changing the way that labor laws work in Europe so that we can actually adopt AI well, and so we can have our firms be dynamic, be able to not be outcompeted. And then a final through line is have a positive vision to tell people, because I think all of the discourse on the continent right now is incredibly negative around AI. There's no one offering a positive story saying, this is how we can actually be so back. It's all, this is so over. Yeah. And so I think that this is like, yes, it's quite a doomy scenario because we want to sort of lay out the stakes, but we want to end with, we are optimists. We're still in Europe. We haven't fucked off to San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. So what's the, what's the gap between, in Europe specifically, what's the gap between like what the kind of the public is understanding about AI and the risks, but then also the rewards, if we kind of get this right? And, how do we basically close that gap? Because I feel like, there are inklings like this article, I guess, like us, like a lot of other people in our kind of bubble who are, they are optimists, but there's a disconnect there. One with some people who are in the kind of tech sphere, who are pretty doomer about Europe, but then also just, in public facing AI speak, like a lot of people aren't very optimistic about this. So like, how do we close that gap?
So part of it is just build a field, right? It's essays like this, set the ideology and sort of have a field grow around that. I think you can have a really broad field of people who care about completely different things. But the point is that we all have these values, and all the values, all the stories, all the pathways where Europe has more relevance, they all flow through this one central node, which is us doing this thing importantly. Next to that, I think it's partly a reframing for people on like frontier capabilities versus existing capabilities, because there's a lot of delusion about open models, and like I love open models. I think they're going to be super useful for very large parts of the economy, but there will be places where you need access to the frontier, whether it's like R&D, whether it's defense, and there's currently not a coherent plan at all on how Europe will hold on to access. And so for me, that's like the focusing line that sort of cuts through the discourse and cuts through like a bunch of cope and nonsense.
Yeah. On like access, like, and sometimes it being restricted, like, any thoughts or opinions on like the Fable release? They were sort of like suppressing some elements of the model. Did you have a look at that? Any thoughts on that? How's it been received?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that they also like rolled it back a bit, and that looks like quite good that they've sort of watered that down. Even the precursor to Fable, Mythos, right? When that was released in the US, Anthropic asked permission for the White House to share this with European cybersecurity agencies, to share this with European firms, and the White House vetoed that request. So already this is sort of like you're seeing the first signal of access requests and what that looks like. And now eventually the White House did sort of say, fine, yes, you can share it. But I think that we're only going to continue to see more stories like that. I think that the answer is like, we can sit here in Europe and we can complain, but us complaining won't do anything unless we're important. And so the first step is becoming important.
That's
really
really
cool. I like that, like, tie back to importance. Do you think we'll ever have a frontier lab that can kind of compete with the hyperscalers, or do you think we've kind of missed that boat and we have to kind of go, downstream into energy infrastructure? And we have companies who are building in fusion. We have like a bunch of other, all these huge pre-seeds that are kind of moving the needle forward, which is good. But yeah, what's your kind of take on that whole macro aspect of this discussion?
Yes, I don't think we can really build a frontier AI company. I think there's a chance. I think that there are some calibrated bets that we should be taking.
Yeah.
And I think we are taking in some places, and that gives you like a 2%, 3%, a 10% chance of catching up to the frontier. We should take those. But it's not a guaranteed plan. And so I'm not comfortable with Europe's plan being this 10%. Now even if like, when the Department of War in the US was sort of toying around with throwing those restrictions on Anthropic, there was lots of talk, will Anthropic move to London? Will Anthropic move to Europe? And I was telling people like, look guys, if Anthropic moved to Europe today, like within a month, like our regulatory system would be like crippling them and they'd be outcompeted. So it's like, even if you magicked a frontier lab into the continent at the moment, there are like a bunch of systemic reasons that are the reasons we don't have them currently that would kill it. So you need like 10 years or 5 years of reforms to make the European tech sector able to grow. And at the same time, you need to be like strategically deciding as a government, these are the technologies that are going to be like super important in 10 years time. This is what will give us leverage, fusion maybe. And then hopefully you're well placed to have these companies that are like small, tiny things now grow into these giants that are super important later. But I just find it really hard to imagine a world where it's like the likely outcome is Europe competing at the frontier.
Yeah.
When do you think like I feel, again, something that we've covered a lot on the show is tech sovereignty as a whole, but I feel that AI has been this real catalyst for that narrative where it almost proved itself that it's relevant on like, not just like in like a global sense, but also like a geopolitical sense where it can be a very powerful tool that, a country could use for bad stuff, but also really great stuff as well. I'm trying to work out like, when did things shift from like, hey, look at this really cool LLM where like if I type stuff in it, it'll give me answers back, to like the Department of War restricting access, or like the Pope, for example, that like I can't remember what happened with Anthropic, but the Pope had like said, I'm going to work with Anthropic on some ethical sort of rollout. I can't remember what it was. When did this happen? Like when was there a turning point? Like from as an insider in the field, like was there a moment?
So we definitely have the Mythos moment, and this is a moment where governments are like, oh, this is real. Okay.
Yeah.
From like a risk perspective, and this is where we see much more people being more comfortable talking about defense offense balance. But as a precursor to that, I think Greenland and the NATO summit with the Vice President, Mike France, those were moments of like, oh, Europe needs to be sovereign. Oh shit, we can't sort of rely on America. And so while it wasn't tech sovereignty, so to speak, it was this sort of, you could feel the vibes shift here in a very real way. I don't quite know when technology, I think, to be honest, Europe has always been talking about tech sovereignty. If you look back, you see these words in like European Commission press releases from like a decade ago. It's just that I think our definition of sovereignty and what it means to be sovereign has been the wrong one, right? We haven't understood what does it truly mean to be sovereign. We sort of put up our flag, we wave it about, declare sovereignty, and then, meanwhile, founders in other countries get to work and prove us.
Yeah, 100%. I was just saying then when we were reviewing some of the, there's an article in Forbes about Mistral. Like, it seems to me that when I hear tech sovereignty in Europe right now, that just means like worse software, basically. And like we reviewed an example. I can't remember what state it was in Germany, but they'd like attempted this, the switching out a bunch of different Windows software and replacing it with internal.
It just didn't work.
And it was a nightmare. And like, one of the quotes from one of the, judges and polices were getting the wrong email addresses. They were getting random emails. Some of them weren't getting any. And like,
it was like very embarrassing.
There was a quote from a judge that said like, we were put back in the Stone Ages. And it's like, I get that, like, I shouldn't be like, you shouldn't try and do it. Like, if you want to give it a pop, then like, that's cool. And I guess maybe you were, you guys are trying to innovate and stuff. But there's part of me that also thinks that if we wanted to have this, have the benefits of this great technology, that we should have been investing in it 10 years ago. And like, that's our opportunity cost,
It reminds me of whenever Europeans will say, but we have great values. It's like, great. Yeah, I really value being poor as well, right? It's like
nice.
You need both, right? I think this is in the scenario. In fact, there's one of the things that Europe does wrong is it sort of makes this blanket procurement rule where you have vast amounts of like workloads that require only European models to be procured for them. So I think I agree with what you're saying. You end up in this just get worse output, right? Like the goals of the sovereignty people are like good goals, right? I understand where they're coming from, but it is what you say, like too little, too late. You need to sort of step back and say like, okay, how do we actually? You almost have to accept I will be somewhat the US's bitch for the next few years. How can I ensure that I'm not in this position in 5 years?
And I love the message. I think it's great. I just think the means in which we are trying to do it, and I specifically reference like, let's just rip out everything and put our own homegrown tech in, like, no.
Before it's even ready /
before it's even
also,
proved or works.
Yeah.
We are at time. This has been fascinating. This has been awesome. Would love to get regular updates. Would love to have you back on the show.
Absolutely.
Also, thank you for co-authoring something that is incredibly important for the whole continent as well.
Keep it up. Congrats.
Awesome work, dude.
Thank you very much. Happy to be your Brussels correspondent.
Let's go. Good stuff, man. We'll see you soon.
Have a good
Cheers.
one.
Bye.
Ciao.
Great to meet you. That is the show, ladies and gentlemen. Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com. We will see you on Tuesday next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say Thursday, but it's actually Thursday. Anyway.